Yeah, we find her, the beautiful girl we've been missing. We wanna have her kissing. We find her, now we in love. Say go so, the remix.
DMB, 𝐶𝐋𝐈𝐍𝐄 remix.
Now if I had to lose you like a bad phone connection, I'd change my game to get a better reception. Sit back, let's start this interaction. Don't fight the feelings, just a chain reaction. Your heart won't give you the wrong instructions. Like my GPS, yes I got the right direction. We gotta merge together like a road intersection. Last stop is gonna be my love and affection. I ain't like the mother dudes, they wanna call you shorty, but I'ma call you a beautiful girl. I took your picture home, my mama saw it, she's a very, very beautiful girl. I wanna put you in my video, cause you're so beautiful. You're a beautiful girl. So when you hear us on your radio, turn up your stereo. It's beautiful girl.
Gotta find a shorty, what's worth of a lady. It's nice but maybe doesn't look like 40. It's taking a little time. I wasn't seeing no signs, any traces of my baby. Who's gonna be my baby? But I thought I'm gonna take my time. Within it took a long fine eye. I saw a shorty passing by. She's got this very pretty smile. It was right at the bus station. I tried to make a conversation, holding her arms, feeling so charmed. I felt this sensation. It's been a while that I've been trying to find a beautiful girl. Now I realize I found me a beauty. Beautiful girl. She's a model, she's so fine. I just wanna take it by. Beautiful girl. Sparkling eyes, a killing eye. I found me a beautiful girl.
My wish came true when I saw you, girl. God must have blessed me with your beauty, girl. Looking so right from your head to your toe, shaped like a Coke bottle with a smile of a queen. My queen to be, you my destiny. Got a body of a goddess with your beauty, I'm impressed and I'm never in distress. Come on over and be mine. Been searching for a man and now all the cats keep looking to mine. With a sexy walk and a sexy talk, she must be from a planet called the sexy world. I know I ain't tripping, better yet I'm thinking put a ring on the finger, we look good together. Take your place in my heart with your beauty, I'ma say that I'll never turn away. Who would think I'm in love?
Such the way she smiles at me just really, really makes me weak. The way she speaks to me just really make me go so weak. Keep staring in her eyebrows. All I kept on saying is wow. Your beauty shines on breezy night. All I really want in my life. Oh yeah. It's been a while that I've been trying to find a beautiful girl. Fine, fine, brown eyes. I found me a beauty. Beautiful girl. She's my model, she's so fine. I just wanna take it. Beautiful girl. Sparkling eyes, killing tight. I found me a beautiful girl. Yeah, beautiful girl. One beautiful girl, yeah. Beautiful girl.
Damn. Money. You seen her? Hot Ice. Have you seen her? LP. Have you seen her? I'ma go over to 𝐶𝐋𝐈𝐍𝐄. I know you've probably seen her. He has a lot of beautiful girls with him. Tux, it's DMB, baby. Look.
Beautiful.
I look for a while, but I can't seem to find a beautiful girl so I can make her mine. Time after time I've been searching for a while, but every girl I meet never seems worthwhile. What can I do? I pray to God for an answer. I feel pains in my heart like cancer, and when I find her, I'm gonna romance her. Lace several presents and gifts, call me Santa Claus. I make a heartbeat pause. That's my girl, homeboy, not yours.
cause the girl of my dreams, she's more than I ever thought. Show me Aston Kutcher, I think I'm getting punked. She's what I really want, so I'ma go get her. Since I'm a go getter, you know I'm gon' get her. And I will give her the world, anything for my beautiful girl.
Psych. Ooh, it's been a while that I've been trying to find a beautiful girl. Fine, brown eyes. I found me a beautiful girl. She's my model, she's so fine. I just wanna take it. Beautiful girl. Sparkling eyes, killing time. I found a beautiful girl.
Girl, it's your love that I've been missing. I miss all your hugs, your touching and kissing. Make love on the floor, the couch in the kitchen. One love enough, we done enough.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen of Prestige? Welcome back. Shout out to you. Let me see. I think I have one person in the chat. Shout out to Chinye. Well, how did I know you were going to be one of one persons that are here today? Shout out to you, Chinye. Listen, happy Sunday to you. Okay, happy Sunday to the rest of the 3 people that are watching me live right now. We're going to deliver as usual, regardless. Listen, the words that are coming to me is that the algorithms are not being friendly to our channel because obviously we decided to start doing one day per week live session. So I understand, it's okay. It will catch up. It's only a matter of time. Shout out to Mo Fresh. I see you. It's okay. It's going to catch up. Okay. But trust me, for the good of this platform, we had to make sure that we, do things in a sustainable way where I don't get burnt out, but we continue to produce content. I've missed you too, Chinye. I've missed everybody. I don't see D-Love. But again, I got the word that the algorithms are not being friendly in terms of notifications. This is why I've warned people about making sure they join us on WhatsApp. You can join us at WhatsApp, lolanola.com/WhatsApp, if you want to be sure to get notifications from me when I do go live. Because again, sometimes I might randomly go live during the week. If I have some space in between my schedule, I might do that sometimes. So if you don't want to have to depend on YouTube's algorithms to send you notifications, the best way is to join the WhatsApp group. Again, my name is Ola. I'm coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. Okay, over here we talk about relationships. We talk about a few other things as well, like we talk about power, right? We talk about seduction, attraction. We talk about love, patience, even though the consensus that it seems like everybody feels like love is not enough. So a lot of people, about 40 to 50% of people feel like marriage is becoming obsolete, even though we don't think that's not the real issue here. Marriage will only sustain it if the people in it are competent, okay? Especially if the man is not competent, we have a serious problem. So that's what we talk about here. Those are 7 main topics right there. And I will keep bringing it. Let me tell you the secret here, okay? First of all, as you're coming in, shout out to everybody that just came in. Hit that like button, share, and make sure you're subscribed. Today we're talking about masculine woman. We're going to be reacting to the video from IYANLA VAZANT, right? We're going to be talking about that. Shout out to �W𝐀𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐔. Shout out to you. Welcome. So we're going to be talking about that today. But I have a few other topics that I want to go through together with you live. As usual, I want it to be interactive as much as possible because, again, we're having a conversation. We're rubbing minds together. Please, there's nothing. Everything I say here it's easier said than done. Okay, this is particularly why we come here to talk about emotional intelligence. As a matter of fact, just before we started the show, I was preparing for this show, and my wife and I agreed that we're all crazy, all of us. Yeah, this is not about somebody knows better than the other person. It's about let's keep having the conversation. Obviously, because of experience, I've experienced some things, and I'm able to bring some insight. But in the same token, I believe you've experienced some things, and then I want to hear from you. I want to keep hearing from you. Shout out to everybody that left comments on the videos. We release videos every day. Sometimes we release an additional short, so you will get notifications. The secret is that if you keep engaging the videos we release during the week as well, and all the shorts, you will continue to get notification. The way it works is that when I'm not here live like I was some few weeks back, I was engaging you. So the algorithms is that dumb. It assumes that, since I'm here all the time, you want to see me. But even though you want to see the content we're doing here, if you're consuming all the live content while we're not here, it will start showing you, because there's only so much space, right? It will start showing you more of those type of notifications. So you have to be a little bit more intentional on how you engage our content if you want to keep seeing the algorithm. It's just the way it works. There's only so much supply, and even when there's demand, so they can only push out so many notifications, because everything has a limitation to it. Okay, shout out to Mrs. She Said, welcome. So we're going to be talking about the masculine woman today. I want to react to about 3 segments of this video. Okay, the masculine woman is, in this time and age, you're starting to hear more and more of it, right? And there's certain types of, when you call a woman masculine, there's certain types of response that you're going to get from them. Okay, there's only so many certain type of responses. The normal, most women that I know personally, most women, they don't think that's a compliment. Okay, that's not a compliment, right? And there are also some people that I've encountered online that would say, wait, if men are ruling the world and we consider them a good thing when they're masculine, what I want to be is masculine. Screw it, middle finger, right? I've seen that too. I've seen at least 2 people that are like that. They're not people I know in real life. Okay, I like to kind of keep it that way. Okay, they are not people I would engage personally, because clearly they've made up their mind that they know something and there's nothing else to know. Either you're a man or a woman, if you've made up your mind that there's nothing else for you to learn, guess what? In my opinion,
you're right.
You're right. Okay, I can't. Listen. That's, even myself. There's only so much energy, right? There's only so much of that I can handle. Okay, because I have to do self-preservation. You get it? If you don't get it, forget about it. Right? I have to do self-preservation because I have my own goals. I have my own mental health I want to maintain. There are certain things I just wouldn't engage. I am not trying to claim to be Jesus. Right? I'm not trying to save the whole world. As a matter of fact, I believe we can't save the whole world. I believe that you can only save certain types of people. In fact, you have to stretch your hand before me. I will stretch my hand to pull you up. Okay? That's not to say I am up. I'm saying to pull you to wherever you want to be pulled into. If you don't stretch your hand, I'm assuming that you're good. And I have no other choice but to respect that. Okay? Now, if you happen to be wrong, that's okay too. In real life, remember we also talk about power here, right? Number 2, there will be casualties. It's okay. Okay? It's okay. If you think it's okay, I think it's okay. So do me a favor, hit that like button, share and subscribe. I just want to rub minds together. I want to share my insights with you. I want to share yours with me. Every now and then I find out that I'm learning some new things. At the very minimum, I'm learning how people handle dating, relationships, and marriage in this time and age. Remember, I've been out of the game for 15 years, so I'm learning. Okay, But there's nothing really that new except the platforms, the context, the what's the other word? Yeah, context. Let's just call it context for now, right? Those are some of the things that are new right now today. But how the story is being told is new. What platforms the story is being told on is new. How fast the stories go viral, yes, that part is new. But at the very, very core, human beings are the same. They're not different, right? They're not different. And allow me to explain what I mean by that to you. Allow me. Give me some time today. I will break them down. I've got a few topics today that I want to cover. Okay. Particularly in this IYANLA VAZANT video, we're going to talk about the masculine woman. We're going to talk about the 4 questions that everybody should be asking, especially when they end up in a crisis. We're also going to talk about polygamy. Okay. We're going to talk about modern men a few times. We're going to talk about the dating game, the marriage, submission. Like, why is anyone still talking about submission, right? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about, let me see here. Yeah, we're going to talk about a few things. Let's just say that, right? So you definitely don't want to miss out on any part of this session today. If you're planning, or you have a plan, or you have intentions to maintain a romantic relationship or marriage in this time and age, okay? Remember, nothing has really changed in terms of human beings at the very core, but how the story is being told, some things have changed. You have to pay attention, right? And if you don't, you might end up being a casualty too. At the very minimum, we agree that social media is less than 30 years old. That is a change. And social media has a massive influence, right, on relationships, personal relationships, not just personal relationships or romantic relationships, even business, right? So, and one of the issues that we have this gross disregard for being intentional when it comes to marriage and romantic relationships. Hey, it's just one of those things. Just do it. I mean, it's not that hard. Just, right? In fact, it's not that hard part of it, right? We may have some time. We'll talk more about that today, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen. We have some videos to react to. Just do me a favor. As you're coming in, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Listen, I'm not too worried about the numbers, okay? I think the max we've gotten up to here is 100 and something live watching with us. The lowest I've done this live multiple times with 0 people watching me, okay? Multiple times, okay? So it's not a big deal. The reason why I kind of pull back a little bit from all this Nigerian celebrity stuff is, again, I want to do stuff that's sustainable. I want to do stuff that's long lasting, stuff that will benefit me, that will benefit you long term, as opposed to sensational stuff that people that get triggered by titles, people that get triggered by, people that don't have anything to learn, they're just looking for gossip. I rather they don't come here, to be honest with you. I appreciate them, but nah, that's not my thing. Again, over here, we just want to talk about relationships. Now, I want to talk about power with regards to relationship, okay? Power is something you need to understand because it plays a part in relationship, okay? People are turning relationships and marriages to competition, and it just doesn't work. But nonetheless, you need to understand power. No one is talking about seduction and attraction when it comes. No one, literally. Let me say this again. Literally, no one. No other platforms. Maybe 1 or 2. Okay. When it comes to these topics, when it comes to modern day dating, relationships, marriage, no one is talking about seduction, attraction. What they're talking about is duty and responsibility, and it's not working. Because if it was working, it's not working. Okay, if it worked too, it would still be working. There's a reason why it started failing. If it was that good, no one would. If it was that valuable to human beings, they wouldn't disengage from it. But they did. So there's a place for that. There's also a place for seduction and attraction. And the most powerful human beings, the most powerful relationships in the history of mankind were literally created from seduction and attraction. All right. So emotional intelligence. We can't do nothing without talking about those things. So patience, love. All right, we're in the time and age where people are saying love is not enough, and they turn it to truth. It's becoming truth. In fact, me myself, I'm starting to be like, instead of me saying no, that's a lie. Now I'm saying, what do you mean? Now I have to practice patience and say, what do you mean? Right? So that they can give me their context. And oftentimes I find that, okay, it's not what I was thinking. It's their way of defining love. Those are some of the things we're talking about here. Okay, I'd rather keep talking about that. It's more sustainable, you know. And shout out to everybody that's watching the video. I don't think there's any video we have that has less than 100 views. So shout out to you. I appreciate you, every single one of you. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're sharing. Okay. Listen, I appreciate the likes. Please turn up on the likes. Okay. But make sure you're sharing and subscribing. Okay. That part, okay? And leave your comments because I want to rub minds with you. Some of your comments will turn to topics and titles and things like that. So let's keep having the conversation. So I really appreciate you. Shout out to Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome. Welcome. All right. So let's do this. We're going to go ahead and share the first, share our screen. The first one today. Let's see. This is going to be fun. Trust me. Okay. Let me go ahead and share my link just in case and make sure I pin that to the top. That way, if anybody is coming in, they want to come up and chop it up with me. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to have a special guest today. She might be watching and playing games. If she's watching and playing games, shout out to you. We talked about this, right? I'm just going to say that and that's it. But, you know, the Prestige family, anytime, feel free. You can come up anytime and chop it up with me. Anytime you're comfortable, feel free to come up. So let me just go ahead and share this. I just shared. Just want to make sure I pin it to the top. Then where's this thing? Where are you? Oh, come on. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Let me just make sure that we don't overwhelm. Let's see here. Yeah, stop the music for a second. Just give me 1 second. If it gets too loud, please do let me know. But I do have an idea of what makes it go too loud here sometimes. So I just wanted to make sure that we don't overwhelm your ears. So if anybody comes in, they want to call in, feel free to tell them that we've pinned that to the top. All right, good. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Share screen. Then we have IYANLA VAZANT. Let's see. Okay. Awesome. Let me see here. Good. All right, so this is the Breakfast Club. We're covering things from Breakfast Club today. And IYANLA VAZANT was a lady that she had a show on their own network, the Oprah Winfrey's network. She had a show up there for multiple seasons where I think the show was called IYANLA Fix My Life. Okay. And it was a show that my wife and I, whenever we had a chance, these are shows that I couldn't watch by myself without my wife. But I did enjoy watching it with her. In fact, a lot of the lessons that we share on Lola and Ola in here, a lot of them were also shaped by listening to some of this ladies' rhetorics. Some things we agree to, some things we're like, Shout out to Rebecca. Thank you. I appreciate you, Rebecca. I appreciate you. Right. So she has some really, really good points. She's not married. I think she's been married 3 times. Okay. So when people say only married people can give advice, this is some examples. I know some examples that completely defile that from time to time, but I also believe that there's a lot you can learn from all sides. We're actually going to talk about that today too. Is it single people that can advise better or married people that can advise better? It's a bunch of nonsense out there, but we're going to talk about all of them today. But this video, we're going to react to it, about 3 segments of it. The first part is about the masculine woman. But before we get into that, what is masculine? What is feminine? Okay. All right. So this is a video we're going to respond to today. But what is masculine and what is feminine? Which one is which one? Gone self exactly, right? Please let me know if the music gets too loud, because I know I may have made a boo-boo earlier. So which one is I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. Okay, so masculine, in terms of, one of the lamest thing I think people can do in this conversation is pull up dictionary meanings. I used to think that way, okay? But again, as I continue to engage these conversations more and more, I'm like, since everyone else is going to do it anyway, okay, let's just go there. Okay. All right. So now, masculine, feminine energy. Let me share something interesting with you right about this moment, right? I'm sharing the screen with you. When I just literally went and searched for masculine on Google right now, from my angle here, okay, look at what is showing on the right-hand side. You see, Google is basically making the face of masculinity Andrew Tate. Okay, Andrew Tate is now the face of masculinity according to Google. Okay, so what is masculine? Let's go through a few of the definitions out there. I personally think it's very lame to make dictionary meanings. It's lame because obviously we don't operate with the dictionary meanings. It's the core. It's like the base meaning of any word. But the real meaning of any word is how we use it, ultimately, in society. And there's so many words that change meanings over years. Sometimes it takes 100 years before it ends up in Oxford Dictionary. So now you're operating with a 100-year-old meaning. And this is why a lot of people are lame when it comes to relationships and marriage and dating. Before you have a conversation, like this is what the dictionary says. I'm like, that's lame. That's why you're suffering. What you need to be paying attention is how people use the word and how they interpret the word. If you're going to land your message or whatever you consider your truth, it's useless if it's being misinterpreted, if it's being interpreted in the wrong way, right? But here's what I'm noticing. Most people that are having this conversation, that's what they do. I think that's why they're struggling. But since that's what they do, I have to obey the same rules. Let's go back to the dictionary. Let me be patient and let's go back to the dictionary. And then we can walk our way back to the real life from the dictionary. Okay? All right. So a lot of people end up in unnecessary arguments in their relationships because they are processing things from quote unquote logic, which is not really logical. If you can't land your message, you're stupid. It's not logical. But anyway, they're operating from that place and they're disconnected from the person, from the actual relationship that matters to them, from the actual engagement that clearly matters to them. They disengage from that, but they will rather be right than to actually nurture and build that relationship. Now, this is not one-sided. It's coming from all sides. Right? So masculine, according to dictionary, so you can see they're making Andrew Tate, who cannot even maintain freedom in 2023. This is not 1963. Not being able to maintain freedom in 1963 like Mandela is not the same thing as 2023. Usually in this time and age is because you're lame. This is not 1962. You're not Mandela. You're not Jesus. Stop comparing yourself. You run your mouth too much, you will end up in trouble. And your freedom may be taken away from you. By what? By the matrix. You're right. There is matrix. It's the reality. Okay? But that doesn't mean that you had to do that to get your message across. Especially if you're not saving anybody, really. Right? All right. So anyway, I yield. I don't want to talk about Andrew Tate today. I just want to talk about you and your relationship. Because you have the autonomy, you have the agency to create a direction. Yes, you, man or woman, you have that kind of power. Unless you're disengaged from it and you just don't know. Masculine, the first definition here says, have qualities and an appearance traditionally associated with men or boys. Okay, now here's the key word that's usually disconnected in this. Traditionally. What do we mean by traditionally? We're talking about the classic men. We're not talking about modern men. That's not what we're talking about. Those are completely two different things. It says traditionally associated with men and boys. Okay? And here's an example. It says he is outstandingly handsome and robust. Very masculine. Okay? Handsome and robust, very masculine may not be exactly synonymous today. It depends on context. Who is using it? Who is saying this? That's what it depends on. The number one word that everyone is scared of today is depends. Everyone wants to take a side very quickly, right? Without processing what is going on. Lame behavior, right? The second dictionary meaning I'm looking at here, it says of or denoting a gender of nouns and adjectives, conventionally regarded as male. Another keyword, conventionally. Again, context. What do I mean by conventional? Like normally. Is this normalized? Or is it going out of normalized? Right? Masculine pronouns. Anyway, there's another one here that says the male sex or gender. Okay, well, if we're talking about the male sex or gender, if it's really that true, why the heck would we ever need to call a woman masculine? If it's truly about dictionary meanings like most lame people think, why would we ever? Like, it doesn't matter how she's behaving. If she's a woman, she's supposed to be just feminine, period. Point blank, period. You can never call her masculine. But listen, we're now in an age where we're using masculine as an adjective to reference certain types of behavior. Okay? So we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. Well, I can no longer say, you're just lame. No, I can't do that. I've got children, sons, I got prodigies, young men, right? And they honestly just want to know the right thing. Yes, they might have been following the wrong type of gurus and stuff like that, been indoctrinated into stupid rhetorics, but I can't give up on them. If you got boys, you got sons, same thing. If you're raising boys, raising sons, same thing. If you have planned to engage a young man in a romantic way in the modern age, yes, you have interest, vested interest in this topic, and you need to know what we're talking about. All right. So with that being said, before I get into IYANLA, right? Wait. Why does it say stop sharing on here? Share this tab. There you go. Before we get into this finally, because we will get into it, let me see. She says she knows her. She has fixed a lot of family lives. Yes, on TV. There's only so much you can do about fixing lives on a 1-hour program, right? But I've definitely loved a lot of things she has to say. I watched one of her episodes and it was so emotional for me. Aww. Face of iniquity. Interesting. That's interesting. Hey, D-Love, I asked about you earlier. Welcome back. Welcome. Good to see you, my sister. Communication is also a very strong key in family. I learned that from her. Yes. And she's very good. And we're going to learn a lot from her today. I'm using this within the fair use guidelines. YouTube. You are correct. She gets. So let's get started with this.
Yes. It's the misinterpretations of love. The wounds or the experience of being wounded disrupted our expression and experience of love. So many of us have love wired to pain. You know, we have love wired to struggle. All
right. So she's talking about Black women in general. Black women. A lot of African American women will say this like her. They think it's just them, but I'm seeing more and more of Nigerian women with this type of things, right? In one breath, they don't want struggle love. In the other breath, they want to be assertive and want to be equal in a romantic relationship and want to be able to make decisions but they don't want struggle love. You see, just think about that. Just think about that for a second. In one breath, let me repeat that. Okay, in one breath, they want. In one breath, they want to be assertive and be able to make decisions together with their equal partnership. They choose equal. They choose partnership over leadership, right? But in the other breath, they don't want struggle love.
Nothing juju be that.
Should make sense. Go hard up, right? No, maybe it's just me taking you out of context. But let's have the conversation, right? Maybe it's just me. So now, again, a man is built a certain way. His growth is literally like by nature, not just by nurture, by nature, but also include by nurture. His growth is attached to challenges, struggle, literally, right? Okay. So we have the modern woman has gone in full circle, right? And they're now coming back to, you know what? I want to be a boss chick, a strong woman, a strong black woman. And we're now getting back into a part of the circle where we're like, wait, Tani Moshe, who did I offend? Why do I have to struggle so much? Right? Why do I have to struggle? So right? So what do we do? Ladies, what do we do? This is a good point. This is a good standing point where you point fingers at the other side, right? But in all of that, in the mix of all of that, you're raising boys, right? You're being a strong woman. You're being a superwoman, like Dr. Shala said, right? And you're raising boys, but you're raising boys as a woman, right? And what are you teaching them? Confusion. Okay? I'm generalizing. Just stay with me. I'll bring it down to personal in a second. Okay? Confusion. Because he's supposed to grow in the world. He's supposed to become a man in the world, right? Where he's going to be held accountable like a man. Like, as in, like, where are your scars? Right? We don't like to see scars on women. That both men and women, as human beings, we don't like to see scars on women. We like to feel like they've been taken care of, no trauma, no nothing happened. Somebody took care of them. That's how we are attracted to women in general as human beings, right? But this time and age, we say no, scars makes me a super person, right? And then boys are like, am I supposed to look for a super, or my innate person is looking for innocent, a person that's been taken care of by their father, by a fatherly figure? Like, it's confusing to the young man. So the young man is growing up to be 22, 23, 26, 27, and he doesn't understand when he should be a man or he should be soft, feminine, or be masculine, right? He's asking now for soft life. I ask for soft life too, but context matters in all of this. It's creating confusion. So he becomes a man, he becomes a father to a young girl, right? But it's confusing. There's confusion going on. That's my main point here. And you can see it in the results we are creating in terms of the divorce rate, but in terms of so many single people confused, not knowing how to get to that next level. Okay? That's what's going on. Confusion. And what we're trying to unpack here, Man of Prestige, on this platform, is have that conversation. Let's unentangle this confusion that's going on right now. You can't be avoiding struggle love, which I think you shouldn't be going into struggle love, okay? And at the same time, trying to be strong and trying to be and all this thing, but take an offense when somebody say you're being masculine, right? It's confusion going on there. What is masculine? Okay, there is masculine. We talked about earlier masculine. There's also masculine energy. It's not more so of if you're a male or female. It's about the energy that you bring. If you bring the energy that you don't need nobody, that's masculine energy, just by absolutes. Okay, that you don't need anybody. You can do all bad all by yourself. In fact, you don't need anybody. You got it all figured out. All right. That's what masculine is. Neither a bad thing nor a good thing. It becomes a bad thing when you mix it together with a social construct that is not designed for that, right? Because why would you take an offense to somebody calling you masculine when it's not really a bad thing? Masculine means structure, safety, security, structure, safety, order, security. The person that sows the seed of those things, that protects Like that's territorial, right? And the other side of it is feminine, right? The feminine energy. We're not talking about feminine. We're not talking about the feminist movement. We're not talking about any of that, right? We're talking about the opposite, polar opposite of masculine energy. It receives, multiplies, turns it to beautiful, right? And when you bring the two together, they create sexual polarity. They create attraction. But if you have two of the same kind, there's no attraction. It's either no attraction or the extreme opposite of a total chaos. The feminine energy is chaotic by nature, but it's not total chaos, right? But when you bring two feminine energies together, it's like total chaos. It's chaotic. Like that's not the life anybody wants to live. You want a person that doesn't really care about strictly soft, or they turn it to beautiful. It's free, right? We need that too as men, right? Or as women, it doesn't matter. But masculine brings safety, is boring, is certain, is structure, order. Everything got to be in a certain type of order. And when you bring the two together, creates the beauty that we all enjoy, right? But then there's also part of this, which is the social construct, the way we have been socialized over the past few hundred years. This is a massive ocean trend that you can't afford, for the most part, on an average, you can't afford to be swimming against it. When you swim against it, for the most part, you will create confusion. If you're swimming against it, you better know what you're doing. Listen, there's no right or wrong here. Whatever you decide to do, it's up to you. But when you swim against this, right, it creates you're going to get drowned because you don't know what you're doing. Okay, I'm coming to the chat in a second. Let's see what else she said.
Love wired to so many dysfunctional things that it just manifests in our relationships. So right now I'm focusing on women and relationships. And I say women because we got to get this together.
What do you mean? Don't bite your tongue now.
You know I will not. My experience and my observation is that most women are men in skirts, meaning that the way their presence, their being, the way we roll in the world, it's very masculine because we've been conditioned and programmed out of our feminines. And when I say, I don't mean feminist movement in the world, I want to be a fireman or a football player. I'm talking about...
All right, so basically, you can be whatever you want. This has nothing to do with nothing, literally. Shout out. She just said, to me, you can have leadership and partnership at the same time, though. Yes, they are not mutually exclusive, but these conversations make them word and opposite. This is part of the confusion. Okay? As a matter of fact, you need both. Why would I want to be married to a person that's not my partner? Like, no be juju be that.
No be juju be that.
Right? But in this conversation, a lot of people they think it's one and opposite. It's one or the other. Even in business, it's never one or the other. It's both. Right? It's leverage. Leverage is key. I'm trying to get your message so I will allow you to land. No worry. Okay, you're talking about the energy, not the actual need for equal partnership. Got it. Yeah, everything we talk about here is mostly energy. Energy. Listen, feelings. I call it feelings. Sometimes I call it emotional, right? This is why sometimes you're right, but you create the wrong outcome. I'll be playing that clip forever, right? Sometimes you're right.
You're right.
But your results, they align. And then it becomes like, where do we go from here? What is going on? I did everything that's right. I'm a good man. I am a good man. Why can't I just find a good woman? You know what? Let me conclude that all these modern women are for the streets.
You think they're wise?
Yeah, that's a lie. That's all you. It's all you. It's because you haven't paid attention. Shout out to Brother Patrick. Shout out to you, sir. Happy Sunday, sir. You don't need nobody is dangerous. We are all emotional beings that needs love and one another. Yes. 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 But remember, today we're talking about masculine and feminine energy. right? If a man will say, I don't need nobody, and it's actually very dangerous for him, like a man who says, I don't want no partners in my wife, like you don't want no partners, you will drown too, because it's not realistic, right? But we need him to be a leader. We need him to be able to lead, particularly from an emotional standpoint, right? Why? Because the woman's role is completely different. Again, misplaced energies, right? Now, he's saying soft life, but when he says that, he's also saying, I want to do 50-50. In reality, he might have to do 50-50. His wife may actually make more money than him in 2023. Is that not the reality of many people, or even more? But when it comes to emotional levels, energy that he brings to the table, if he plays that game, yes, going to be bad. It's going to be bad, right? It's worse. Shout out to Tima. Good to see you, Tima. Let's continue the video so we can get through some of it, right?
I'm talking about how to be a woman in your being. What is the distinction between feminine power and masculine power? And we've been conditioned and trained to be men in skirts. We do everything like men. We compete like men. I said this on the R Spot a few weeks ago. I said, most women want their boyfriend to act like their girlfriend, chatting, shopping. But when the man comes home, what they meet is another dude.
All right, let's make that breathe. When the man comes home, what he meets is another dude. You're still a woman, but energy level, right? This is the point where we say, babe, let's have a conversation. Let's draw some boundaries. Let's communicate, right? Right? He's been doing that all day long, right? But he comes home and it's like, and then it's like, oh, okay, all right. I guess it's time to have a conversation. But we agreed that this was supposed to be here, but now it's all messy. And like, this could be truth. He might be just messy and all that kind of stuff. What should you do in this point in time? Should you now let it slide? These are the conversations we need to have, because you don't want to just let bad things slide either. But remember, we're talking about the energy, right? We're talking about the energy. Before I continue this video, we didn't talk about what the dictionary meaning of feminine was, right? So let me share this with you really quickly. Let's see. Let me share this with you really quickly. The dictionary meaning, which dictionary meaning are always lame with respect to reality. Okay, but I'm sharing it because I know someone is going to come here and say, but that's not what the dictionary meaning is. I know that. So I want to address that up front, and then we walk our way back to reality, right? The first dictionary meanings of the feminine as a word, right? It says have qualities and appearance traditionally. Are we traditional or we're modern? Okay, even if you have traditional values, do you live in modern times? What does modern times mean? Meaning you're swimming against a big trend of ocean. If you're going to swim against it, I hope you know what you're doing. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you will drown, right? So traditionally associated with women or girls, a feminine filled blouse, a pink shirt, a pink this, a pink that, right? A lily color, is that a color? A lily. Lavender, right? That's a color. I don't know what they look like. Right? But that's the thing. There are certain things, attributes, or characteristics that can associate with the feminine energy. It makes you remember soft. Who defined it? The social construct you live in. For now, until maybe another 100 years, maybe that would have changed. Men are now walking around with pink, so it's no longer really a big deal. How many times have you seen that, even in your own lifetime? Things change all the time. But let's pay attention here. Number 2, the second definition here is of or denoting a gender of nouns and adjectives conventionally regarded as female, right? The female sex or gender, okay? But what about energy? When we bring this down to energy, which is what comes together, masculine energy, feminine energy creates sexual polarity. You bring positive and positive together, what happens? There's no polarity, right? When you bring negative and negative together, there is no polarity, right? It's basically extremes. You never want to be in a space of extremes, right? You want to be in a place where you and your partner, you're complementing each other. Right? Make sense? All right. So those are dictionary meaning. What does that have to do with calling a woman masculine? Well, the point is that there's misplaced energy, right? All of your energy as a woman is traditionally still very much true when it comes to socially speaking, supposed to be in the direction of receiving, right? Receiving, multiplying, and then reciprocating. Literally, you have so much in you. You have so much to take care of the rest of the world when you have the right people sowing the right seeds, right? But you don't carry seeds. That's not what you do. You don't create, right? You don't bring the seeds. That's not what you do. If things are aligned together, especially with respect to the social construct that we live in today, even yourself, you know, go feel right inside when you are worried about pay this, pay that, worry about that, take care of my mother, take care of that one, and no one is taking care of you, especially at an emotionally and a spiritual level. It's not sustainable. Dare I say, a man who is well groomed and raised by a man has more than enough to do that. Even with respect to that, he has to kind of feed off of his network of other strong, powerful men, even him, right? But as a woman, it's just not set up that way yet. Maybe in 50 years' time, maybe you'll be sufficient enough. But right now, it's creating chaos. Again, all of this, no moral standards, just the social construct we're in. It's not set up that way. That's where there's confusion everywhere.
You know how women are up. It's just so.
Why do you think that happened?
And why do you think it's such a problem?
It's a problem, first of all, because the feminine presence is missing on this planet. That's why we got so much hoopla and conglomeration going on.
What she's talking about is anger. The masculine energy brings structure, safety, security, certainty, all this kind of stuff, right? But when it's tapped into emotions, the first thing it goes towards is anger. Why? Because, hey, you know, it's very particular about how things has to be, right? So if there's no, the first emotions it goes towards is anger. So imagine this world filled of masculine energy everywhere. Okay? That's what we talk about, war zone. Let's keep going.
With the weather, with the politics, because see, the old male guard is dying. That masculine patriarchy, it's dying off. And you see them fighting and clawing and hold on to power with that's the whole Roe v. Wade turnover. Okay.
All right. So let's leave that at that, you know. If you want me to talk about the feminine men, we will talk about that next when we cover this topic. But today, we're talking about the masculine woman. Okay? A couple of things. Let me go on to this one right here. All right, share this. Let's do this one right here. I think in this one, she's talking about the 4 questions that you want to ask. If you go find this video, is on Breakfast Club YouTube channel. Breakfast Club is a radio station here in the New York City area, and but they're on YouTube, so you can find Breakfast Club. You can watch the whole thing. Shout out to the Breakfast Club. Let's keep. So right now, this one is about the 4 questions. Let's get into it.
Needs to ask everybody in a relationship, men, and help you a different perspective. Gotcha. The other thing is to figure out. Here are the 4 questions that I think every relationship needs to ask. Everybody in a relationship. Is this an important relationship in my life? Because sometimes Boo Boo and Kafada are fighting, and they don't even care. I mean, just because you're here right now, you're the one for right now.
Is this an important relationship in my life? This is a question that comes to my mind all the time. Sometimes when people are arguing about this stuff, I'm like, why are you having that conversation? Like, these are not people that care about each other, especially at a romantic level, right? Like, okay, let's rewind. Why am I making assumptions? Do you care about this relationship? Yeah, of course. Oh, okay. Well, any lady who does this, does that, I'm just going to leave her at the restaurant. What? That's how simple it is? That's not how simple it is. If this is a person you care about, it's going to be a little bit more complicated than that. You're going to get caught up in your emotions. The same thing for ladies, right? This is, again, confusion everywhere. They're having these conversations like it's just, we're here. It's all transactional. And if it doesn't work, we keep it moving. But that's cap. That's cap. That's not reality. This is why people get angry to the point of almost deleting themselves.
Stop the cap.
Right? So can we calm down first when we're having this conversation? First of all, is this a person you care about? Is this a relationship you care about? I think the second question is this a person you care about? Let's keep going.
Is this an important relationship in my life? That's the first question. And the second question you have to ask yourself is, do I value this person? And do they value me?
Do I value this person? Do they value me? Do I get some kind of value from this person being in my life? Because half the time when people are talking about this, they're talking from their ass. All cap.
Stop the cap.
If you're so emotional about this conversation, you care. I don't care. I don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Stop the cap.
Don't care. Don't care.
You do care. So because you care, that conversation is going to be a little bit tougher than your simp direction, your simpish direction of handling things. It's a little bit more complicated than that. Why? More importantly, because your emotions are caught up in this conversation. Even long after you've broken up with this person, when you have conversations about relationship, I can smell it. I can smell it that you're still hurting really badly. If we don't acknowledge that, let's stop the cap. We can't address anything else because that's the baseline.
Stop the cap.
You can tell that from behavior. The third question
question.
Am I willing to take 100% responsibility for the state of this relationship?
This is the part where they say, how's that fair? Everybody's trying to play fairness. You've heard me a few times say, that fairness game is not going to work. Not in relationships, not in power. Okay? May the best man win. That's how it works all the time. It's an active marketplace. You will be destroyed by your own ignorance. You can't take care of your own relationship. Somebody else will come and help you take care of it. That's the way it works. That's the reality. Yeah. Oh, by the way, ignorance is not an excuse. Oh, I just didn't know. Oh, well, you're listening to me now. So you might say, maybe I've been missing out on something that I should pay attention to. Somebody else will take your space. Or you want me to tell you?
Meaning, I can't change you, I can't fix you, but the state that it's in, the arguing, the lack of support, the adversarial, whatever it is, am I willing to take 100% responsibility, which means, am I willing to look at what I do? Not what you do. What am I doing? And what's motivating me? And the final question is, am I willing to do the work to heal it, no matter what the other person does?
No matter what the other person does. That sounds so unfair, right? You hear other things people will say, oh yeah, but if both people are not willing to come to the table, like, I know it makes sense from a common sense standpoint, but common sense is a terrible guide to relationships and power. Terrible. Because guess what? If it's common sense that we need, everybody will be getting it right. Because guess what? Who are you going to tell that they don't have common sense? Who are you going to be telling that they don't have common sense, that we agree with you? Your partner think they have common sense too. You see why you're struggling? They think they have common sense too. Don't you think you might need something else outside of common sense? Common sense says, both parties should be. That's eventuality of it. Eventually, yes, that's what creates long-lasting relationship. But in the beginning, in the middle of a crisis, when there's something, when you're at your rock bottom, when you hit the rock bottom, right? When something goes wrong, right? How long are you going to be waiting for the other person to come to what your mind is considering equal place where we both come together, right? In fact, a lot of time when you think you're equally talking about the issues, what is happening is that the other person is building resentments. They really don't agree with you, but they are angry, but they're saying, let's just get past today, but they're building resentments. That's not good. That it doesn't work. So, are you willing, if the other person doesn't do anything, if they don't make a move, are you willing to take full 100% responsibility of the healing necessary? If you're not, just stop everything you're doing, call it quits. It's not going to work. Because that day is not coming where both people are. It's never going to come. This is why good people, good intentions, common sense, all educated, PhD, doctorate, medical doctor, pastors, this is why they're ending up in divorce courts. They're waiting for that perfect day when they don't have to take full responsibility, even if the other person doesn't make a move. You, especially gentlemen, you're needed in this position. She can try her best to be that person who will take the upper hand. If they go low, we go high. But if she consistently has to do that, she's not set up like that. She's not set up like that. She needs you, the masculine energy, to feed that feminine energy. And it benefits you if you're willing to go through that process, because she will multiply everything and reciprocate. But of course, if you can see that far, essentially being in your feminine energy, we're going to talk about the feminine man too, right? No, she's an adult too. You want to play that game? Keep it up. I'm patient. I'll see how far you go.
The big one.
Ooh. What's the answer to that question most of the time? Are people willing to do the work?
They drooling at me from the first question. Is this an important relationship in my life? Well, yeah, it's important to me. That's my wife. That's my husband. Why is it important to you?
They don't know why.
Why is it important?
Nope.
Outside of
That's
the title.
when they can't.
Yeah.
They've never taken the time to consider why. Like even the way I think right now, why? Where's that coming from? What's the source of my rhetorics, of how I think? Where's that coming from? What made who I am? Right? What made the person that I am today, my belief system, my stronghold on these opinions? Where did it come from? Why do I think the way I think? Why do I feel the way I feel? Even more importantly, right? Let me tell you something. It's a struggle everywhere. It's a struggle everywhere. But if you're here on Men of Prestige, good news to you. All you have to do is keep coming back, because over time, all of this stuff will start to align. You will start to make you connect the dots over time. Okay? It will make sense to you, because let me tell you something. The winners are still winning big time. They're still winning. Trust me. Okay? In terms of their personal relations, the losers, how do you say that in English, Jerry? If you are going to be lost, you can't hear. You are stubborn. You won't hear me. In fact, you will make common sense and exact science sense out of your own points. The only thing that will be disconnected from that is your results. Right? Because that one will tell us the truth. That's the one thing. Reality results will tell us the truth all the time. So that's where we are. I got one more clip from Miss IYANLA VAZANT here. But before we get into that last clip, let me see what you all are talking about in the chat. He says, a messy person is a no for me. It will kill my very soul. Yes. Yeah, that context matters in all of this. So again, none of this stuff can be blanketed out into, you can't generalize it, right? But the reality that in real life, sometimes, what she's saying is that if you can't see, she's not saying you must. She said if you can't see yourself doing the work, if the other person doesn't do anything, I think it's over. Okay, but remember there were 4 questions, so it's just the reality. Yes, is this an important relationship in my life? 2, do I value this person and do they value me? The do they value me part is very, very important. If you're in a place where you're feeling like this person doesn't value you, stop everything. Stop and refocus that energy back on yourself. Okay, even if you're wrong, at least we need to get you into a space where we figure out that, oh yeah, I was wrong. Because if you feel that you're right, this is the base of the work. Every work you build on top of that feeling that the other person doesn't value will crumble. It will fall on his face, right? 3, am I willing to take 100% responsibility for the state of this relationship? Thank you for typing this out, Key. Number 4, am I willing to do the work to heal this relationship despite what the other person does? This is almost very similar to number 3, right? It feels unfair. Like, why would I want to do that, right? I'm somebody's daughter too, right? Again, it's not to force you to do it. It's if you're not in that space mentally, emotionally, nothing you do will probably work. Okay. She said, question 4 has me bent out of shape, to be honest. I understand. Yeah. So to be able to address that question 4 even further, it needs to be at a personal level where we know your particular stories, because sometimes it's just not healthy trying to save other people. Self-preservation first. Very, very important. Okay. If that's what that means, you need to take care of yourself. Okay. You know when people say you should be selfless, marriage is about selflessness. You can't do that if self is not preserved. So we need context, which means it needs to be at a personal level. In some people's story, I'll be like, nah, no. Don't worry about him or her. We need to make sure you're good first. In some situation, I'll be like, what did you learn from that? Well, what do you mean by, okay, did you think of it this way? What value do you get from this person? Oh yeah, but he's a good. If he's a good guy, what else are we not talking about? Okay, all right. What do you mean? Oh, it's boring. And then you will say a few things from listening to your open-ended answers to open-ended questions. They will be like, okay, we think we have a way that you can finally start getting some value out of this beautiful relationship, right? But we can't generalize what it is for anybody. Not definitely at a YouTube level. Definitely not. And you gotta be careful what you're listening to on YouTube as well. All right, so shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm seeing you. Please hit that like button. Hit that like button. More importantly, please share and subscribe. Thank you so much. All right, so let's watch this last clip. Then we got some other stuff to cover today.
Polygamy nowadays.
And if you like to travel and all of that, and I'm really very nice.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about people who are into like the polygamy nowadays? Those relationships where
well, see, I'm old, so I could do polygamy. I would just want her to be younger, so he don't have to be bothering me all the time. Go over there. She's 42. I'm 70. Go on, take your butt on over there.
You can do that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You know what?
You joking or are you serious?
What do you think the benefits could be?
Very
Just
serious.
dead ass.
Yeah, I could do that. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, I couldn't because I didn't know who I was. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand the value and the purpose of a relationship. So when I was younger, I didn't do cheating. But I could do polygamy. I could be one of other wives in this day and age.
Mm-hmm. Really?
I couldn't have done that when I was 30 or 40. I didn't. Mm-hmm. I ended up marrying a man who was a polygamist. My second husband came out of a polygamous relationship. And at that time, I thought, you're cheating. I still don't do cheating. Mm-hmm. If we're going to do that,
I was about to say,
open conversation.
She said, when I was younger, I couldn't do cheating. Guess what she just said? I still don't do cheating. I'll talk about that in a second.
An agreement. But you sneaking around the corner with, Chris D'Amata. No, I don't do cheating. Mm-hmm. You know why? It's dishonest.
I agree.
And if you're going to lie to me, then I can't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
But if we sit down and this is what we want to do, I like it because you be over there sometime, I'll be over here, I don't have to cook.
You be over there sometimes, you be over there where? You're like, all right. IYANLA, that's about it for today. Okay. Mama, IYANLA, let's stay on that side. You don't know what polygamy is, but it's okay. On paper, it means you have multiple wives. She's probably thinking multiple husbands too, but I yield. But let's just leave it. She's done well today. The truth is that relationship across the board, all over the world, is the same thing. Okay, it's about aligning values and then patience, like Brother Patrick just said. A lot of patience. Okay, because sometimes you have to be patient in due season, because when you sow a seed, you have to wait for the right season to harvest. It doesn't become what you're looking for immediately. A lot of young men, a lot of young ladies today are completely disconnected from that principle, evergreen principle of life. They want to do it. They want to snap a finger and they want the results right now. The microwave society, right? And this is a part of the reasons why they are suffering, right? So let me see. Keeper said, Iyanla overly romanticizes polygamy and African. Yeah, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's talking about, we could be over there, I'll be over here. Like, polygamy comes with overly over hypered level of jealousy and envy, and yeah, shout out to DJ Envy, one of the DJs, the host of that show. Yeah, that's not ideal for an average human being, right? This is why it didn't work over time. This is why we're where we are. This is why monogamy is what it is today. And if it's that good, it will come back too. We shall see. Maybe in 50 years time, we'll see if it comes back. I doubt it. There's a reason why it's the way it is, right? All right. Now, there's a difference between polygamy as a marriage practice and polygamy as as just on paper, which means you have multiple couples, multiple partners, right? Those are two different things. They're not the same thing, But she's talking about, when they talk about cheating and polygamy, they always bring it into the same sentence. Cheating and polygamy are not correlated in any way or the other. One is lying about your lifestyle. The other is a practice, okay, that we can't really shame. We can't really shame polygamy. We just know from experience that as Africans, that it's not something you can romanticize, right? But there's nothing wrong particularly about it. Cheating is wrong by default. Like, you're lying, okay? Those are two different things. So when she said I couldn't do cheating, eventually she fixed it, and she said, I still couldn't do cheating. She was talking about honesty, a honest design, a honest, customized type of relationship. And it makes sense that at 72, she doesn't care. She can say, I like you. Yeah, I guess we could do that. When you get older, anything past 40, especially past 50, there's some things that it's not that deep for you, okay? Because you've been there, done that, and some things that young people will be like, oh yeah, I could never. You're like, bro, as long as I'm happy. Because the closer you get into that direction, 40, 50, you start to realize that nobody, everything gets old and dies, including us, right? So it's better to relax, engage your soft life, and don't take anything too seriously. So if you find a partner and to say, hey, we're all honest, I have 2 other wives, I take care of myself, I test myself from time to time just in case of disease and stuff like that, and it aligns with who you are, knock yourself out, right? But again, fantasies, just fantasies. Let's say if she's that open to it, she should be doing it. I'm sure there's enough men out there that can do it. But yeah, that was Miss Iyanla. She did a good job already today. I think we learned something from her. Feel free to go watch the other video once we're done. The actual full video. It was a good video, actually. But the masculine woman is a real phenomenon today. Okay, it's real. Okay. So how do you avoid not being masculine? I want you to remain a student of this. Just keep learning as much as you can about it. But keep in mind that the masculine energy and the feminine energy is what we're talking about. You need both of them to come together to create attraction. Okay? You need both. So even in same-sex relationships, they understand this to a large extent. Okay? You need both. It's just a principle of life. You need masculine, somebody that comes to the table that tends to put structure, safety, security, certainty in place. They're boring by nature, but you like it like that because you are the butterfly of the situation. You're the one that makes everything beautiful, right? In fact, you feel so. In fact, you can because they do so much in making sure your life is well structured. You just pour at them, right? You just pour at them. But when you have true masculine energy, meaning a man comes back home to another thing that feels like a dude, a person that just, right? Yeah, it gets very rough. And again, how do we define this? How do we know this? We can't generalize. We need to look at your particular situation. Just because your man is not as ambitious, you want to become a millionaire, but he just wants to go to his 9 to 5, doesn't mean you're more masculine. If anything, it's a misplaced masculinity, and if you don't know how to properly adjust around that, it will destroy your relationships. Your relationship. And you're not wrong. It's just what it is. Just how the world works, right? So when you hear people say things like a woman who makes more money than her husband cannot, they're generalizing, but there's some truth to it, right? But usually what happens is that the man doesn't know how to understand that his position as a king is still there. He can lead at an emotional level. He's thinking financial. He's thinking everything tangible, when the wife still needs him to be a leader at an emotional level. And if he's not capable, if he's not competent, right, he's going to go into his feminine energy. He will start complaining. He will start talking. He will start nagging. And yes, he might end up losing his wife. And nobody's wrong. Nobody is at least going to admit they were wrong. But effectively, that's the result that will be created from that. So if you happen, like many couples today, you happen to be a woman who make a little bit of money than your husband, and you're noticing some behavior, maybe this is the first time you're hearing this is where it's coming from, right? It's a lack of competence on this part, but it's also a lack of awareness on your part, because if you're aware that this is a real thing, there are ways you'll move to that he wouldn't feel so threatened or intimidated. Just because your husband feels intimidated as a real thing doesn't mean that's the wrong husband and you're no longer compatible. It just means you people are human beings, okay? But when you are aware, you can adjust things, you can show some love, you can address things from a place of love, right? And understanding and patience, right? And then you can realign, and that might even inspire him, right, to go do better for himself. If there's a need for it, I don't think there's a particular need for it. I think the need here is that we need men to continue to be masculine at an emotional level, not their mouth. Because right now, what they're considering masculine is mouth, just talking too much. Unfortunately, that's just where they are, right? So not that, but in real life, in terms of being able to make his family, not just the wife and the children, make them feel safe, secure, because it's that manly, masculine energy in the house. Has nothing to do with his paycheck. But if he's going to be insecure about his paycheck, if he starts to believe like, oh, is it because she's making more money? If he's processing these kind of thoughts in his brain, the way you're going to react to that is insecure. You call him insecure. Well, guess what it's going to do? It's going to show you insecurity more and more, right? It's going to show you more of his feminine side, because we all have masculine and feminine energy in us, right? And then it's just going to be chaotic. Why? Because you're trying to operate in your femininity, but you're misplaced at a masculine level. He's trying to operate as a masculine by running his mouth, and his misplaced femininity is just chaos. It's just messy, right? And that's where things are today. So it is a real thing. And then also, if you're this boss chick thing, there's a place for it. Outside of a family structure, traditional family structure, there's a place for it. If you bring that into a family household, I'm not saying anything is wrong with it, but you better know what you're doing, because again, you're going to create a certain type of result, right? That's just how life works. Life is nobody's mate, right? You can't just come here and say, because I prayed yesterday, my own will be different. A different type of principle will operate with me. No. All of us, right? We have to abide by the way things work. And if you want to change things up, change up a little standard, you better know what you're doing. That's all I'm saying, okay? But let's go through some of this. You guys have been chatting quite a bit. Let me engage you all, because I love doing that. You're absolutely right, Key Pearls. She said, I think she speaks from that emptiness that a lot of people feel when they can't trace their roots fully and just think anything African is perfect. Yes, that's it. See, perspective, right? Because we all do that. We speak from our place of experience, and they work. At least be guided if you're saying stuff like that, Okay. Let's see here. If not cheating or wondering, how do polygamy spot the next addition to the number of? Oh, there are people that do this properly. It's just kind of like something that the whole society knows. When you're marrying, for example, a Muslim person, you kind of expect, you kind of know. Sometimes on written rules, sometimes it's expressly stated. that you're okay with 4 wives. You know that's what we do in our religion, right? You just know that. Not only that, a lot of times you're raised that way too. So it's not really a surprise, you know. But for our forefathers, you're right. A lot of times it's because they were wandering around and then somebody was a girlfriend, side chick, they end up becoming a wife. You know, but that's part that we cap about a lot that nobody wants to talk about. But cheating is no-go area for me. It has a multiplier effect on the whole family, kids in particular. Nice. Keeper say most polygamous men have a long-term plan until each set of children collect their mother to join them abroad and leave papa's wahala behind. Exactly. That's a lot of people's stories too, right? IYANLA, polygamy is not what you think it is. Yeah. I like that IYANLA is into African tradition, but the polygamy thing I can't get with. All right. Tonya says, hello, like, folks. Please like to support. Thank you so much, Tonya. I appreciate that. Please like and share and subscribe. Okay. A couple of points I want to leave with you as we go. Leave this topic alone. There was another clubhouse conversation I was involved in where they were talking about this, and the title was "Why Are Strong Women Being Interpreted as Being Masculine?" And here are some of the points that I dropped in about 3 minutes because they were actually ending the room. So I put it together because I have the Prestige family at the back of my mind. I was like, you know what? This would be a good one to share. The questions you want to be asking yourself to answer that question. The original question is, why are strong women being interpreted as being masculine? That's going on today, okay? And that's not a good thing, not for the person saying it, not for the person on the receiving end of it. If a person is accusing you of being masculine, that's not a compliment, usually. And if you're being accused of masculine, I am guessing if you're a normal person like most people, you're not receiving that as compliment, okay? But why? To answer that question, a couple of questions here. What is a strong woman? I need to know what the person asking the question, what do they mean by a strong woman? What is masculine? We talked about that earlier. What do they mean by masculine, right? What is masculine energy? Masculine energy and masculine are two different things, right? Then also, a lot of people talk about emasculation. What do you mean by emasculation? If your husband is accusing you of being emasculated, we need to know what he means by that. Don't get stuck on the terminology. When people are confused, they use all kind of big English, okay? We need to know what the story is, okay? Emasculator is being thrown around all over the place. I think it is a real thing. It's happening, but it's not just happening. And most people talking about it it's just excuses, okay? It's just lack of competence for the most part. Somebody said he wanted veto power. He wanted to have control over his family. Well, if a man is still using those languages, he lacks competence. It's probably going to be a terrible husband. He probably will say things like, political correctness is wrong. Political correctness is killing the world. Well, if he's saying things like he's lame, he has no power. The only power he has is his mouth. And that's part of his problem. And he will need to engage coaching, therapy potentially. He needs to be plugged into some kind of program. If that happens to be your husband, I'm sorry. But he needs to learn. It's not going to work. Okay, because that's just the tip of the iceberg of what's going on. But a lot of time they mix it together with roles, option. The truth is that roles in traditional family marriage is fluid. Why? Because both people are working. The issues here is we're confusing roles at a mental, emotional, and spiritual level with it has to be tangible, right? Like in 2023, it's only a lame person that will see me trying to cook a quick inyo for myself. My wife already cooked Eli into the fridge. I'm trying to make a quick inyo on the bar, and they say like, "Why are you in the kitchen?" That's lame behavior. I can be in the kitchen if I want to. But if that's where your brain goes, there's a good chance that the inyo is not the issue. Okay, because everyone now this common sense part, everyone knows that anybody can whip up a quick inyo for themselves. But we have enough lame people saying, man in the kitchen, it's not supposed to be. We have enough of that, okay? But like for example, in my personal relationship, my wife loves a feminine, womanly role. She doesn't want me in the kitchen, okay? In fact, when I go whip up a quick inyo for myself, she's always accusing me that I did something. There's inyo drop here. So I try to clean up. No matter how much I try to clean, so that she will still find out that I came to her kitchen. So I happen to be one of the, I guess some people consider it lucky that I can still go into my kitchen, but Again, most families, that's not how things work. She's probably working or sleeping in the afternoon. She's probably a nurse for 12 hours in the middle. That's not how it works. It's only lame people with no experience that that roles are tangible or financial like that. The roles are still intact when it comes to emotional. You're expected to be a man. You as a lady, you will not function well if you're not with a man who knows how to be masculine at an emotional level, who knows how to make everybody feel safe and secure. Feeling. These are not tangible because everyone's story is different. Okay, but anyway, everybody thinks marriage is a competition. The wife thinks it's a competition too. Why can't I? I just want equal. But the reason why you're asking for equal partnership is because you have a husband who has been going behind your back to make unnecessary decisions that are detrimental to you. If you came home with $1 million every year, there's a good chance you wouldn't complain about that. The issue is not the partnership thing. The issue is that it's been irresponsible. And when you're coming from this space, it's a very good chance that you're now asking for partnership over leadership. The two are two different lanes. They're not mutually exclusive. You need both. You need a structure. A structure with two heads is a monster. Okay, there's a good chance nothing good is going on in that space. Okay, and at the same time, a good head understands that he needs, or he or she, it could be she if you want to, needs to partner with everything, right? Understands that. But if he doesn't understand that, that's another wahala entirely too, you know. But those are some of the things you want to talk about. Assertive men. I said, what do you mean by assertive? What do you mean? Are you rude? Or I'm just a blunt person. Are you a rude person? This is a question that you must answer in front of a mirror, not to me. If you're a rude, if a few people have told you you're a rude person, you're not assertive. Okay, man or woman, as a matter of fact, you're not assertive. You're just a rude, nasty person. That's just what it is. Because again, 9 out of 10 people keep telling you it's just people don't want the truth anymore. No, you're full of crap. It's you, something about you. You don't live in a vacuum. You live with other human beings, and the way they receive you is everything. Unless you're God and you can change them to something else. Then the rest of it is cap. There's two solutions to all of this. Self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Okay, there's a third solution. Keep coming back to Men of Prestige. Okay? Keep coming back to Men of Prestige. All right? There's is anyone on the chat a firstborn female? I get accused of not being soft enough. My default setting is to get things done. Yeah. My wife can relate with you. She's a firstborn. I'm a firstborn. I can relate with you. Okay. So again, remember the second solution is self-awareness. When you're aware, half the battle is won. Half the battle is won because now you're like, oh, I do come off this way. I can tone it down while I can still get the work done. Right? Because you can't get the work done if people are receiving you negatively anyway. What's the point? It's useless. Right? It's useless. Very, very important, you know. But I can relate with you. D-Love says, funny, I am a middle child and I feel we get ignored. My wife has middle children issues with that too as well. So she could probably speak more to that. It's real. Feel ignored, more ends causes us to be more independent and default to getting things done, and sometimes alone. Some people have to deal with this for a long time. It's a real trauma for them, you know. But yes, we have a few more things to cover today. Shout out to everybody that's watching live. We have 16 people. Shout out to every single one of you in the chat. I appreciate you. Just like, share, and subscribe, and tell more people about what we're doing here. We're very patient. We'll keep doing the work, okay? But we're here live on every Sunday evening for the Prestige Sundays live, okay? We have 5 p.m. But we drop all types of videos, shorts all throughout the week. I appreciate your comments when I do see them. It makes me feel like, thank you. Like, I can't tell you how much it makes. Like, I appreciate it when I see your comments during the week on any one of the videos. So I appreciate you for continuing to engage. If you're not seeing notifications, go and search for Men of Prestige and come back to it by yourself. Search every day. We drop the videos between 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 3 p.m. every day. Okay, every day of the week. Sometimes including like today. Okay, today was a mistake that we dropped we try to avoid, just make this about the live session on Sundays. But I think there was a mistake somewhere. But either way, it doesn't matter. If you're engaging the videos, YouTube will show it more, and to more people will continue to show it to you and to more people. That's just the way it works. So I appreciate you. And I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's see. Let me share my screen with you. How many of you watch Ready to Love on OWN's network? If you are here, you watch the Ready to Love. If you don't watch it, I think you should watch it. We can talk more about it. You can see a lot of the behaviors that we talk about in demonstration. Okay, in full-blown demonstration, we can see them, and then we can keep talking about them. Okay, but today, as a first, if he responds well, I will keep talking about it. But if you're not, we keep it moving. But modern men just want to talk. That's all they want to do. Unfortunately, they want to talk, right? Modern men just want to talk. That's where we are right now. Yeah, modern men just want to talk, right? Particularly because of these reasons that I'm looking at in the chat right now, and we're going to talk about it. We got to talk about it real quickly. Let's see. So if you look at this screen right now, we have I'm just on some of the pictures. This is the Ready to Love crew right here. Copy image address. Let me show you. So it's a show, and it's about a bunch of single people. It's a bunch of single people that are looking for love. Okay, and the host is Tommy. I forgot his last name. Nephew Tommy. Who I'm not sure if he's still on his uncle's radio show. Steve Harvey. So basically a bunch of single people come together. It's done in the form of a game. They date each other and they kind of find love. Ready to love. That's what it's about, right? But in the midst of them getting to know each other, and they're dating and they're getting to know each other, you see it gets very, very obvious, some of this behavior that's making a lot of people stay single outside of their will. I'm not talking about the people that want to stay single. I'm talking about the ones that don't want to be single, but they find themselves being single for a long time. Okay. So again, if you guys want to talk about it, if you're watching this show, I will keep talking about it. But if you come here too and you watch this segment later on, and you want my review of some of this behavior, I'll keep doing it. Today I want to talk about the guy called Anthony. There's a couple of them. I'm just going to review a couple of them, But what I've noticed here, that's a big part of the issue. Because remember, I keep saying there's a responsibility for you as an individual. If you want a successful relationship, you have a responsibility to play your part, in terms of nurturing it. Okay, in terms of bringing your own part. Like, don't worry about what the other person is doing. Since you didn't worry about that in the beginning of the relationship, you can't worry about it in the middle. Like, will it work? Right? You need to keep worrying about what you are bringing into the equation. And if it keeps working, you stay there. If it doesn't work, you leave. Easier said than done, granted. Okay, but that's the only way it's going to work. Because again, you see a lot of people complaining that people don't become what they weren't before. They're trying to actively change another person. That's what I see a lot, right? But anyway, what I noticed, what I really want to talk about today is that a lot of the men on this platform, a lot of them are between the ages of 28 and 45, even 50 sometimes. Single, some of them divorced. And then you're like, wow, he has not learned anything. Just off of the way they talk, you're like, he hasn't learned anything. And I'm like, wow, these people are struggling, right? So there's a couple of the men, there's one particular guy, his name is Anthony. And he kept saying, he's 39 years old or something like that. And he kept talking about, oh, we'll talk about it. We have a conversation about it. And he kept saying that. And yes, on the surface, that sounds good and cute. Listen, communication is key number 0.1111, number one, ahead of number one, right? But it depends on what you mean by communication. Sometimes you just talk too damn much. Sometimes you just talk too much, right? It depends. So you might say communication. I'm like, what do you mean by communication, right? I mean, we sit down, we talk about it. Well, I might be like, you're right. But in reality, I'm like, I would like to see what that looks like in real life, right? Ultimately, there's no ideology, like including, God forbid, the devil, right? If both of you are on the same page, it will work. Why? Because you're on the same page. There's unity. If both of you are on the same page, it will work. That's all it takes. You just gotta be on the same page. Why do people have troubles with finances, with infidelity, with irreconcilable differences? Those things literally at its core says division. A house divided against itself cannot stand, right? So if what you mean by communication happens to translate to some form of you doing all the talking and the other person is feeling smothered to death, could it work, right? If it has no regards to if the other person are receiving your communication, it's useless. So henceforth, as you're moving forward, whenever somebody says communication, I want you to ask them, what do you mean by communication? Oh no, if it's you, say, what do I mean by communication? Do I need to talk about it before I go to bed? If that's a yes, ask the next question is that what if my partner somehow they get caught up in their emotions, they're not that strong, they're weak, they don't want to talk about it. And it's now 11 midnight, but my belief is that we should communicate. What am I going to do with that situation? There's an active crisis, conflict in your hands. What are you going to do with that situation? Well, continue to communicate. Why? Because communicate is the key. Continue to nag about whatever is going on. If I did that, what will be the result of that? Would I be right? Yes, I will still be right. Would the result be good, right, wrong? I don't know. I would like to see that play out, right? So these are some of the people on the show. These are some of the people. Let me make it a little bigger. It's probably not big enough, but let's just do that, right? These are some of this. A lot of the young ladies, a lot of the behavior I see from them, they're typical. Right. Typical in terms of, especially if they're single mothers, they have their guards up. They don't want to make the same mistake all over again. Obviously, that makes sense, right? So they have their guards up, right? Having your guards up, those guards can cave in on you and destroy you, just so you know. Okay? But what is it going to take to get your guards down into a healthy place where you can be vulnerable enough to be able to receive love? Because the way you are set up, you're supposed to receive love in order to be able to accord some level of respect, peace, whatever he wants back to him in multiple folds. If you don't receive love first, so if you have guards up, it's going to be hard for you to receive love. You won't know how to recognize love when it's coming, especially if all you do is consume information about red flags. You will see red flags everywhere. That's basically what I noticed with a lot of these quote-unquote baddies, right? All right, so this young lady right here in particular, her love interest is this guy and this guy right here. And this guy, young man, he's there, let me see if I remember, 31, 32. The lady herself is 38 years old. And this guy is 42 years old, something like that, 41 or 42, above 40. And there was an active competition between the two of them. It's a sport of some sort, but they are serious, right? And I think people have actually gotten married from the show. So it can be serious, right? And this guy basically, there's a few times that I was hearing some some manosphere, red pill rhetorics from him, but maybe he's just caught up in his emotions. I don't know. But I was hearing some of them, you know. This guy, he's just a normal guy, but quite slow. Like he's how do I describe him? He's it's not fast. Like he's the kind of guy that's asking you for permission to kiss you. Ladies, I know in your mind you're like, yeah, I want him to ask for permission, but the problem is that you won't like him. That's the issue here. Okay, I know what you would like, what you would say you would like. I know the reality, I know the fantasies, I know the distance between fantasies and reality, right? But just imagine if you like both of them, right? This one goes for the kiss, right? But he's also tends to be the one who, when he's angry, he's not treating the girl properly. Not because I said so, because the girl is receiving his energy that way, right? She feels, I forgot her name now. She feels, this girl right here, she feels like she's not being treated right when he's angry or when he's upset. This one is there just, listening and try to understand her, making sure she's safe. And guess who she liked the most among the two? Anybody want to guess? If you haven't seen the show, if you've seen the show, don't cheat, okay? Anybody want to guess? Who do you think she likes the most, right? When among the two, the first one is asking for permission to like her more, to get a little closer, to pull her to himself, hold her together and say, hey, I like you, right? And the other one is doing that, but he's not nice when he's upset. The other one is nice all the way around, right? This one you're looking at on the screen right now is all the way around nice. Let me see if I can make the picture bigger so we can make this even more interesting, right? Yeah, so which one? This guy right here, he's the nice guy. He wants to do, in fact, as a matter of fact, there was a scene where he actually asked, like, is it a good time for me to kiss? And the girl was like, some other chick, right? Right? So, and this one is like what some ladies that may enjoy a little bit of toxic energy. I'm sorry, okay? If this is you like a little bit of toxic energy, and if you end up on the receiving end of that, you might end up regretting it for life, okay? What we're looking for is not what you're ultimately looking for is a balance, okay? You're not looking for somebody to be mean and wicked to you in the name of there being a man, okay? This is the other manly man. He's 42 years old. No, I can't take that. No, he's very quick to say, no, I won't tolerate that. I don't have time for that, right? And this one is like, I just want to make sure you're good. I just want to make sure you're all right, right? I just want to make sure that, I don't like the way he's treating you. Also, they have a tendency to talk about what the other person is up to. So they're in this house or in this show together, right? The last thing you ever want to be doing, gentlemen, if you're listening to me and you happen to know that your babe that you like, you're not dating yet, happen to like somebody else, the last thing you ever want to do, this is the young lady right here, the last thing you ever want to be doing, okay, is worried about what the other guy is up to. All right, don't worry about it. It's not, but what if he takes the girl away from me? Yeah, the question is, what if? What would you do? Can you handle that? If you can't handle that, she's not gonna like you anyway. Okay, so deal with it, right? Deal with that. All right, so let me see. Of course, let me see. Who do you think she likes the most? Let me see. Somebody answer. If you don't complete the loop, it is not communication, but rather expression. That's a good one. Keep it exactly. It's important to ask, especially because some people have dragon breath. Well, usually in this place, we're talking about a person that their breath is mint. You can feel it. Ladies, can I get a little PG here? You're wet already. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about child play here. I'm not talking about you have your guards up and the guy is not sure of himself. In fact, you yourself, you're lost. You're fantasizing about 14 years in a marriage with this person where it's perfect already. You're like in love. That's what I'm talking. I'm not talking about you still have time to be thinking about somebody's breath. If there's breath, of course you will have time, but there's no breath is the point we're making here. Okay. Keeper says she likes the F boy. Correct. She was feeling this guy more. They haven't ended the season yet. You might want to go watch it. Modele is living in fantasy land. She said, of course, okay, she's right. She said, not the nice guy. Not nice guy. Yeah, she's not feeling the nice guy. Is this true across the board? For the most part, it's true. Sadly, ladies, this is the reality. For the most part, this is some of the things that the lame modern men are struggling with. They can't understand why a fine girl like this would decide to pick a bad boy. It's not really bad boy, it's manly man. Like, he doesn't care about your feelings when he's upset. It's about him, right? And this one is like, yeah, I want to make sure you're good. I want to make sure you're okay with it. What can we conclude from this? She would love the bad boy. You just said, me, I love nice guys, so I don't want wahala. You see, when you go and watch the show, right? It becomes very obvious, right, why this guy was not showing up properly. See, remember, the masculine energy is supposed to make you feel safe and secure. If a guy is not sure of himself, whatever that means, if he's not sure of himself, if he doesn't know when you are ready for that kiss, he needs you to spell it out in words, right? There's a good chance you won't feel safe and secure around him. You will feel like he's trying to manipulate you, as a matter of fact. Yeah. But it's a feelings. So there's a disconnect between the reality and feelings here, because, in reality, the bad boy ends up not making her feel safe when he's upset. In reality. But that's something that happens over a period of time. But it creates a confusion. And yes, a typical young lady may be like, damn, I like that manly man, but damn, he's toxic. I see red flags everywhere. And she kept saying it. I see red flags everywhere, right? Okay. Now, both of them, there's something common to both of these guys. They talk too much. Both of them talk too much. If you're upset, you don't really have to say anything, right? If this is your lady, you don't really have to say anything. Sometimes you do have to say something. It's not, for the most part, no. There's probably a disconnect between your reality and what's making you upset. If you can't even calm down as a man to say, I'm upset, let me just take some time off, let me go in my man cave, I'll be back to it, right? If you can't do that, that's the modern man. That's what they're doing these days. Some of them are loud and they call it being masculine. And a lot of young ladies are confused about that. If he's a guy who put his foot down and he said, he might get the lady first. And if you're asking permission every stop, that's still worse. Okay. In terms of what creates attraction. Okay. The second one, toxic guy. Everybody's saying the toxic guy. The older guy's masculinity could be misrepresenting as leadership. You get it. Exactly. It could also be familiar with the nice guy. She's waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right. So it's obvious she doesn't really like this guy that we're looking at on the screen already. She's just like, oh, he's so nice. I don't want to break his heart. If these are the reasons why a girl likes you, it is not good, though. Will it last? She won't feel safe with you because you don't have your own backbone. Okay, she's helping you to like you, right? So these are some of the reasons why this can be very confusing to you ladies in the market and the dating scenes. You're like, oh yeah, but I like him, but okay, that's his red flag, and then and then you let some people with bad behavior pass, and then you see some good guy and it's not hitting. And you be like, I'd just rather stay single. Or you keep him on the sideline, you be talking to him on WhatsApp, just in case one day you wake up and suddenly you feel like you finally like him. But actually he's friend zoned. Yeah. So the problem with this particular guy, his own problem is that he kept worrying about why she's still giving the other guy attention. He wasn't sure of himself. Ultimately, as much as he was misrepresenting masculinity, like you said, Key, the ultimate truth is that he wasn't sure of himself. He kept worrying about, why are you giving this goofball Why are you giving him attention? He kept getting caught up in his emotions, and that kept making the girl feel not safe, even though she likes the stern masculine, I don't care, Yeah, ultimately, it fell on his face. These are the confusions going on everywhere. People think their mouth is their masculinity, and never respect. The one that wants to ask for permission before he does something, or the one that wants to tell everybody how he's not going to tolerate anything. Either way, both of them are in their feminine energy, in my personal opinion. How do I know? Because the young lady could not receive from them. It can also be a function of a lady who has gone through a lot, who just can't let her guards down. It could also be that. It could also be because she's been used to one side and she's looking for the other side more so, right? It could be a lot of things. We can't generalize too much unless we know people's particular stories. But you can understand a little bit from that, right? People usually associate the toxic guy as alpha males. I don't know, but a lot of people don't understand the meaning of an alpha male. Alpha male doesn't mean toxic. Well, when you have confusion, a young lady does not necessarily want you to be asking for permission before you be a man. She also doesn't want you to be asking for permission in the other way. As in, like, I need you to know that I'm masculine with my mouth. Either way, it's just bad, right? Now, the either masculine or feminine energy is something you carry. It's just the way you move. It's not your mouth. It's the way you move, right? It's an essence, if you know what I mean. It's like, it's energy. It's not spoken stuff, okay? It's not spoken stuff. So, for example, one of the things that this young man, I know some of my brothers are listening behind the scene, so I'm going to share this before I leave this topic alone. This young man, what he was doing wrong is that if I'm being nice and I say, how you doing? How you doing? I'm not just saying that with distance between me and you, okay? If this is a romantic situation, I'm putting my hands out. I'm stretching my hands out. I want you to touch me. Touch me, okay? Let's talk. While you're talking to me and I'm listening to you, I want your hands in my palms. Oh, wow. Oh, your hands are so beautiful. Touch. Okay? Now, obviously, 3 step forward, 2 step backwards. If she's not comfortable with it, she needs to feel safe ultimately, right? But complete distance, because I'm just waiting. I don't want to cross boundary. You're operating from a place of fear. Could it work? That's one thing that this young man is doing wrong. Okay? Yes, Rebecca. Ladies love a guy with action. Fine boy now. Look at him. But he couldn't pull none of the girls that he had interest in. I really didn't see him pull like it was like the one time he was going to, like, it seemed like there was some kind of chemistry between him and some other chick. He asked, like, oh, this is a good time to kiss. Like, dude, who says that? Yeah, there are more than enough women on the internet that tell you, I want you to ask for permission. It's BS. They don't. It's because there's a lot of goofballs that will move in a way that will make them feel unsafe. The key thing is that you want to make sure that the lady feels safe. And that's something that you have to be able to read. See, this is your first step in reading minds. Yeah. Should I read minds? Yeah, you have to read energy. Okay. Yes, of course. Okay. You have to. Okay. You have to be able to feel the vibe and say it's there. And if you're not sure of it, it's not a big deal. Don't spend too much time there too, because your energy gets watered down like that. Disengage as quick as you can. Say, hey, let's catch up again, right? As opposed to you sitting down there and indirectly or directly asking for permission. It won't end up well. That's why some people like toxic guys, because they say they like alpha males. Yeah. The alpha male thing is BS, is bullshit. Now a day man talk too much is a turn off though. That's my point. Exactly. Okay? That's my point. A lot of young men, modern men, they don't know this. That's why the topic, modern men just want to talk. It's a turn off. You talk too much. Okay? You should be asking open-ended questions. If you're too concerned about body counts, there's a good chance you don't know how to read energy. You should know a girl with high body counts before seeing her. You should be able to tell without her saying a word, without you using that in words. Okay? It's a good chance you're a lame person if you're stuck on this. Okay? And it shows in your result. You can't even lie. You're a liar. You can't lie. You know. You can tell. There's a reason why you're overly consumed, obsessed with people that won't like you anyways, body count. It doesn't make sense. You're wasting. You see, you're coming from a place of, again, when you're operating from a place of fear, either on either side of the stream, will it work? Okay, it won't work. You will just end up on the internet later on and say they are all for the street anyway, okay? Man, talking too much tire me. Oh, Modele, I'm sorry. They are learning now, they're learning. We will lose the nice guys to the manosphere very soon. His humiliation was public. Let us pray for him. That's real. He's going to end up saying, these women don't like nice guys. They don't like you to be good to them. Well, he forgot the part that he was asking for permission to be a man or to lead. Right? Yeah, it can't work, you know. Another perspective, because I just Googled this show. The bad guy is a tax director. Yes, he is. I remember that. The good guy is a bartender, manager. Could it be financially security that is blinding the girl? It could be. But I'm operating. I don't like to guess of how those other things play a role. What I'm looking at is when you watch the show, you can literally see this playing out in real time, right? You can see the energy playing out in real time. I'd rather focus on that because I really think that's the disconnect. And listen, an average couple right now, not average, but a lot of them will end up with a wife at some point that will make more money than them. If she's making almost equal money as you right now, which tends to be the case because you meet people in your circle, professional circle and stuff like that, there's a chance that you could lose your job tomorrow. She's making money for an extended period of time more than you, right? She's not just going to leave you just like that unless you don't have game. Unless you lack game, you're lame. You're asking for permission before you be a man, right? What does that look like in real time? That's the question. What does that look like? Are you a man or you are asking for permission to be a man? Are you a leader or you need perfect followership to be a leader? These are the issues across the board, both in singlehood and even inside of marriage. People are struggling with this in real time, okay? In real time. And before we can really address it, we need people to stop saying, oh yeah, I don't want to. No, buy coaching, engage coaching, and let's talk about it at a personal level, okay? So there are many people. He's a bartender. Bartender doesn't mean anything. No condition is permanent. He could be on his path to be the greatest data scientist in the world. That takes 6 months, 1 year. Doesn't make any difference. It's about the energy that he operates in real time right now, right? If she likes a little tad bit of him, there's a good chance she can like more, a little bit more, right? But if the other one is a little bit more sure of what himself or he looks like it on the surface, she will always go with the angle that makes her feel safe and secure, whatever that is. So it's person to person, depending on woman to woman too. But typically across the board, women wants to feel safe and secure, whatever that means for those particular individuals, right? So that's what's going on here. So, but yes, it could be, right? But if she doesn't want a bartender at all, she would just say, no, I'm not interested already. Why would she want to be wasting her time and entertain? Because she is entertaining interest with this guy. She is, okay? She likes him. But liking him doesn't mean, liking you doesn't mean they're going to sleep with you, especially when you have an active competition. Like in real life, active marketplace, right? So I don't know. We don't know. The only thing I can see is their energy. I know that he tends to ask for permission. He's not sure of himself. He's not certain of himself. That will kill attraction. Okay. Why am I thinking of Zacchaeus, the tax collector who climbed the tree to look for? Hey, Jesus. The tax guy is really showing off his skills. Why the bartender, I guess, is doing the smooth flow. No, he will be smoother if with his smiley face, with his checking, touch. You need to touch, okay? Touch. Worst case scenario, right? If there's energy, chemistry already only, gentlemen, okay? If there's no chemistry, don't touch. If there's visible, almost they can feel it, touch it, chemistry, go for it. Put your hands on her lap, okay? Put your hands on her lap. If she doesn't like it, she will take it off. I'll be like, oh, my bad. I'm sorry. And find your way out of there because she's clearly not interested. If you feel chemistry already, it's extremely likely she won't just be removing your hands. Now, not the bare lap, of course, there has to be clothes on, okay? Be careful, all right? But again, you have to have some game to be able to, you have to feel on this, and it has to be something you can feel, okay? If you're not sure of yourself, then engage coaching and learn how this works first before you go and make a fool out of yourself. But what I'm telling you ultimately is that when you're not sure of yourself, that's not attractive to most women, okay? And it's being received as vibe, energy. So it's not exact science, anything. It's more of an art than it's a science, okay? So another guy that I'm going to finish this session with talking about this particular guy. His name is Anthony. And, oh man, he was just a mess. First of all, his love interest had to be begging him. This guy right here. Like, beard gang. A lot of ladies like the beard gang right now. That's like already a +1 that you can, they just want to touch it. Family Rubon, you know what I'm saying? But he would rather talk about the future. What's the future look like for you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is lame behavior. Okay, you can find out all of that information in regular conversation and not looking like a robot. Okay. Oh, I just feel like we should kind of talk about. He finally got one case 11 episodes into the season. Terrible. Okay, he's better than the other nice guy, but yeah, not good. Okay, not good. Again, I keep telling you, this is a very active marketplace. If you're active, you're looking for a partner, there are some things you need to know. You need to learn how these things work. You need to learn how it works with respect to the times we live in. So you have to be careful about the Me Too movement and how, some women want you to move a certain way. Don't just come off goofy and creepy. Okay, creepy behavior is weird. One of the most creepiest thing ever is always asking for permission or always asking, "I'm sorry, I hope I didn't offend you." If you come off with that kind of energy, that's creepy behavior. Okay. I know you're trying to make sure everything is aligned, but that's creepy too. You see, it's not so simple. It's an art more than it's an exact science, right? So you definitely don't want to be too forward touching people that don't have any chemistry with you. But if you feel some kind of chemistry, she wants you to lead. She wants you to lead. Forget what she's saying with her mouth. She wants you to lead. Ultimately, she will appreciate you if you're leading. Okay? He said, "I think Me Too Aftermath plays a big part in men getting consent." No, I think they're just not men enough. It's soft life, overdose of soft life is affecting them. Some of them were raised by single moms who asked them, because when a woman is teaching you from a standpoint of a woman, she's like, always be respectful. And then it's not that I'm asking you not to be respectful, but there's an additional layer of conversation there, right? There's seduction and attraction and vibes and emotions and chemistry. There's all these other things too, right? But, I can understand why a man who is not there can interpret that as, just ask for permission. That means respectful. No. There's another layer of the conversation, and women still move very much in that way. We got to be careful. We got to be careful on both sides. You got to be careful. Don't end up being Me Too'd, but also you got to be careful so you don't end up in this marketplace for too long because you don't know what attracts a woman. She needs you to lead, whatever that means. She doesn't want to lead. If she leads, it's not sustainable. She can lead sometimes, but if she's leading over and over and she has to kind of hand you over, okay, this is the time to kiss, so here's time to have sex. So yeah, if she has to do that over and over, it's not sustainable. Okay, it's going to backfire really wrongly later on. So if this is something that you're struggling with, you need coaching. Just letting you know. Okay. Dealer said, "I actually like beard. Frames the face. Most women like is in style, right? So, but when they start talking, you're like, wow. Yeah. Oh, is it the human resource guy? No, it's a nurse. It's a nurse practitioner. I think it's a nurse practitioner. So, but he wanted to talk about everything. This is where the title comes from. And obviously on YouTube, on Clubhouse, modern men just want to talk. They don't want to learn game. In one breath, they said there's no such thing as game. In that same breath, in the next very second, they start spitting what they consider to be game, which is there's no game. When you say there is no game, you're literally giving me your own idea of game, which is why it's falling on its face. There is game. Okay, that's the reality. There are skill sets that you need to learn. Okay, all right. And that's just the reality too. Anytime there's an active marketplace, meaning somebody's looking to take your space all the time, right? Yes, there are skills, principles, things that you need to learn that tend to consistently create certain types of results, right? All right. So that's that. I'll be right back. All right, so this topic right here. So here's a quick question for you all. Has the dating game or marriage changed? Has it changed? That's a question for you. That keeps coming up, okay? This is a topic that keeps coming up. I figure, let's talk about it. Since everybody thinks it's changed. It has changed. The game has changed. Has it changed, really? Would you say the dating game has changed? As marriage in the 21st century, has it changed? Is it a different beast, right? Or it's basically the same, right? This is how it works, okay? We're talking, people are having a conversation, and then there's a group of women who say, well, it has changed. The game has changed. It's not the same. You can't keep doing this. Guess what? I'm also part of them. I keep telling this young man, I said, we're not in 1963. We're not in 1963, okay? Something has clearly changed, right? There's another part of the conversation that we keep talking about. Can people change? Can people change? That's another topic, right? We'll talk about that. But here's the ultimate of everything. At the end of the day, I want to play this video, and then we'll come back and talk about it. There's only one thing that's constant in life, and that's change. Let's keep that at the back of our mind, and then let's get into this topic. I'm gonna play this video, and then we can come back and talk about it. Let's see.
Here's what we have to understand. The landscape of dating has changed a little.
The landscape of dating.
Everyone talks about people are so different these days. People haven't changed, they're the same.
All right, so he said people haven't changed, they're the same. But he said the landscape have changed. Over here, I say this all the time. I said context. The context obviously have changed, right? But people are people, right? And if you feel like people are people, like obviously social media is here, right? This video was uploaded about 5 years ago, right? So what do you think has happened in the last 5 years? Change, right? Yeah, constant. Change is constant. Oh, here's the problem with this conversation. I'll get to the problem with that conversation in a second, right? People say the dating game has changed. They're talking to me about change like they can monopolize change. Like when I was talking about marriage with respect to where my parents are coming from, that there was no change too. It changed at that time too. It's not just in your generation that things have changed, right? But let's keep going. Let's see.
Changed, they're the same. The landscape's changed a little bit. When I started out, the dating websites weren't huge.
When he started out, dating websites weren't huge. What is dating website today? Normal. Everyone is on the dating, not even website, app. You're on an app. You're on Tinder. You have Tinder on your phone. What is the other one? Bumble. What do you have out there, right? Cupid, some, right? I don't know what they are. I just know Tinder because it's the most popular one. I think there's some other ones out there right now, right? But clearly, it's more of a normal thing now. But think about 5 to 10 years backwards, right? It was weird.
They were still a niche thing. It was still a little embarrassing to go on a dating website.
It was embarrassing.
Now everyone's on Tinder. Everyone's on Bumble. Everyone's doing these things. And here's the problem everyone's up against. A landscape that looks like there's infinite choice.
A landscape that looks like the infinite choice. right? What I said, okay, I usually say the illusion of choice. People have illusion of choices and options. After all, I can jump on the internet and Google and find another guy. Let's see how he says it.
Perceived choice, because it's not the same as real choice.
Perceived choice.
Right? As a guy, you go on these things, you're like, oh my God, look at this buffet. There's so many people. It's not true, right? Perceived
It's not
choice
true.
is what messes people up. Because perceived choice...
It's even worse today, more so than ever before, right? Swipe, 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 swipe. Yes, interested. Swipe, 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 right? Is it real? Yeah. It's real in terms of its effect on the human brain, right? In terms of thinking you have choices. He says something else I want to...
Is when the guy who's thinking about breaking up with his girlfriend looks at 1,000 options on his phone and says, look at the amazing world out there.
Right. The moment he has an argument with his wife, his girlfriend, he jumps on an app, right? He says, like, I have options, I have choices. Why do I need to worry about this relationship when I have all these options, right? And ladies, right? So has it changed? Yeah, of course it's changed, right? But the human being himself or herself, have you changed? Not really. Yeah, the change you're talking about is a constant. From my parents' generation to my generation, it was there. From my generation to my children's generation, it was there. Every 10 years, there is what? Change. What is that? A constant. What does that mean now? Cancelled out. Same. Okay? Why do people say the game has? Why do they even come up with this sometimes? They use it as an excuse to exercise pride, unhealthy pride, arrogance, right? That's what they use it for.
Yeah. Right? He didn't have that 20 years ago. Right? He had a fight with his girlfriend and she went out and he was lonely. He had nothing, he had no one to talk to. Right? The landscape is different now.
The landscape is different. If the landscape is different, obviously there's something that we need to learn. Oh, by the way, if I'm an older person trying to advise people in this dating game and marriage, I need to learn the new landscape. This is why it's a terrible idea to run to your parents when you have crisis in a marriage. You have to be careful with that. They don't understand the landscape. They just don't. It's not their fault. They just don't know what they don't know. They're going to tell you that ile eko ni. That's what they're going to do. They're going to tell you, shove it up, deal with it. Or they will tell the other person that. And then they will say, okay, Motigbo, you are right. And then there's resentment sowed that you will harvest 5 years from now. It will be worse.
Perceived choice. There's the lack of empathy that is bred by looking at people through a screen. So now what do?
Lack of empathy. If all you can do is swipe numbers, right? Now you become less of an emotional human being. You think, but actually you're still an emotional being. So it's confusion at best.
We treat people worse because we can. Right? So, and you do it too. It's not just...
You get to treat people worse than you can if everything were normal. Because you have an illusion, right? But the reality is that you're still a human being. You will pay dearly for this behavior. But let's keep going.
Men, we treat people worse. We ghost people. Breadcrumbing is the new term, right? Right? Giving a little, giving a little, giving a little. We say things that are bolder than we would ever say in person.
All right. So when people tell me dating game has changed, I'm looking at this video like, okay, has it really changed? Which part has changed? The fact that you need to learn the landscape that you're in, learn the context that you find yourself in, especially as a man, which one has changed exactly? Because the landscape has changed, but the only thing you're telling me is that, yes, you need to learn the landscape. In that same context, in the landscape, the social construct still expects you to lead. Not only that, you want to lead as a matter of fact. Then you're telling me you're confused. I'm like, I understand why you're confused, but part of your confusion is that you think no one can teach you anything. That's the issue. That's what's going on. Pride. This is why I keep tracing everything back to pride and unrealistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations, you think you can swipe, and turn everything to exact science. That's unrealistic expectation. You're a human being. You will get caught up in your emotion. You just be angry after 3 months. Because after all this time, $200 per plate, about 25 different dates in the past few weeks. I'm making all the six figures, but I've spent about $10,000 on stupid dates. And then you get angry and you enter manosphere and start cursing everybody out.
So what happens is men, at least on the surface, seem less likely to commit today than ever because of the abundance of options.
Women, illusion.
I believe, en masse have accepted a lower standard because they've drunk the Kool-Aid. They've bought into this idea that men are...
Well, or worse, women are now saying, well, we've learned. We don't want to understand, we don't want to accept less than standard anymore too. Well, the men are saying, I don't want to accept less than standard. The woman is saying, I don't want to accept anything less than standard. And people are saying, no, you should never settle. But in reality, they're actually going to impregnate each other and settle. And they're confused. There's confusion everywhere. Listen, the reason why I'm spelling this out for you is awareness. Now, half the battle is won when you're self-aware. When you had emotional intelligence on top of that, you won't last on the marketplace. I promise. You can't last, right? Because this people are. You remember all the options. You will become. Let's see what he says.
It's just worse now, and the landscape's just worse now, and they have to accept less. And I don't buy it for 1 second. And let me tell you why I believe that the key right now, the key to winning in love right now, the key to getting something most people aren't getting, 99% of people aren't getting, is to actually be higher maintenance.
Be higher maintenance, it says. That's the key to winning right now. Be higher maintenance. What does that look like? Remember, you don't want to settle. You don't want to settle. Is right. So that also has to be interpreted properly. If you're higher maintenance in the sense that, if you're higher maintenance in the sense that you are open to just reflecting what IYANLA said earlier, self-reflect, taking full 100% responsibility of yourself. If you're higher maintenance in that level, yes, I agree. If you're higher maintenance in being delusional about your options without working on yourself, you will collect it. You collect really badly. You'll be deceiving yourself. Okay, you'll be deceiving yourself. So even that one has to be unpacked. It needs to be unpacked. So what is our conclusion here? Before I go into our conclusion here. Hey Tima, she says, I'm very much open for dating, but it's like I'm nowhere actively looking or trying. I'm confused at this time. I understand. Completely get it. We could talk about that more later. Completely get it. That's what we're talking about, right? I think it's because we're all aging into different options. Okay. That's another angle. I feel like God himself is going to have to give my hands in next relationship. You know, it really comes down to, self. Keep working on yourself, but please don't do it inside of the house. You have to get out, engage, socialize, network with other people, okay? And in this time and age, you need to have profiles on those platforms, okay? But you need to understand how it works, understand how most people use it. They use it wrongly, right? And you have to be careful. You can get catfished as well, but there are ways to protect yourself against that. But exposure, like anything else in life, right? But the first level of exposure you need to be engaged in is at your own professional life. Every event, you need to be at every event, engage, climbing the ladder. Don't let some lame man tell you not to climb ladder. It's 2023, okay? Climb ladder, engage in network, continue to be the best, go to school, take an extra class, get another extra associate degree as long as you're not getting school loans, if it's free, okay? Only if it's free, if your job is reimbursing it, go to the event, get some certification. Don't get school loans. Please avoid school loans. Thank you. Okay? But it's basically exposure in a way that you're building yourself as the primary thing, right? Listen, you can't last in the marketplace. You don't decide that I'm ready so you can come into the world. No. Let's go back to how you were in your teenage years when you were starting to attract young men in your early 20s, when people just naturally. What were you doing at that time? Whatever you were doing at that time, we need to go back to that. Okay. Now, with respect to the landscape we're in today, it's okay to have a nice profile on the typical social media platforms. Like, for example, at least Instagram, Facebook, network, being in groups and stuff like that, right? Of course, I'm not talking about a group where people are looking for husbands and stuff like that. I'm a little bit iffy about that because I still want it to be attraction at best, not a situation where everybody lump themselves and they are doing misery love company. I don't like that. It needs to be natural, okay? Because that's the only way it's sustainable for a long time. If it's something that seems forced, it will show in your energy and you will come off a little awkward and here and there, right? But that's a tip that I can definitely leave right there. But yes, in addition to, positioning like that will help God help you, Key says, options that I had 10 years ago are not the same. That's not necessarily true. Okay. They're not the same in terms of the same types of people. But in terms, if you talk about numbers, that's feminist and manosphere talking points. Lose that completely. There are the same number of people in your circles that you tend to interact with, at least by text messages. Okay? Your family, friends, your people that you know that are in your circle. Now, you're more homebody than when you were maybe in your 20s. I get that. You didn't club like you used to, but also most people were not wifing people at a club, right? People did, but that's not what they went there to do. They went there to have fun, right? So I wouldn't engage that statement too much because it's very dangerous. The truth is that you do have the same amount of healthy options. There's a massive increase in the illusion of options, what he was talking about, which is the perceived options on when you're swiping. But it's a certain type of quality that your online profile will attract, right? There is no reason why you shouldn't have a solid LinkedIn profile. You don't go there and say I'm single. It's just that the quality type of people will find you and they will nail it if you are single at that level. Man or woman, Instagram, Facebook, okay? At least LinkedIn and Instagram, right? TikTok, no, not necessary. Instagram, Facebook, where you can post nice picture every month, decent looking picture every month where people can see you in your lifestyle, a little selfie at a party here and there, whatever, just living life. Everybody want to be a part of that. Everyone wants to be a part of that. That's just how it works, okay? Right? And then take care of yourself, right? Take care of yourself. Make sure you're on a journey to be your healthiest self. Whatever that looks like, look like or feel like, you need to be on a journey to be your healthiest self. It goes back to self, but obviously you can't do that inside of the house without an Instagram profile, okay? You need to have an Instagram profile, a LinkedIn profile. Instagram for the fun stuff, LinkedIn for the professional stuff. Continue to equip yourself in a professional world. Get to every event in your professional world and engage, right? Just engage people because we're social beings, right? And you won't last on the market, okay? Usually people that argue against this, they haven't even tried it, so you get it. But just try it, try 1, 2, or 3. Save this video and continue to revisit it. Put it out into a bullet point and see if you can try out some of those things over the next 90 days. You will definitely see a difference, starting with how you feel about yourself. And how you feel about yourself, guess what people are going to do with that? They will mimic it. They want to be a part of it. They want to copy it. They want to help you do more of it, right? They want to help you multiply it. That's the way these things work. Okay. So has the dating game or marriage changed? No. Marriage too. The landscape has changed, right? You can't be yelling and calling it masculinity. That's stupid, literally. That's being stupid. Let me call it out as what it is. It's just being stupid, okay? I mean that with all the passion in me because I've seen people think and demonstrate and think yelling or assertive is what masculinity is. And then on the flip side of things, you have women saying, I want to be assertive. Like, confusion. Okay, no, it's not. At the end of the day, there's one thing that never gets old. Being kind, being received as kind, making people feel around you feel like they should come back around you, right? That will never get old. People only care about how you make them feel around you. Do they want to keep coming back around, or they're scared of you, or they don't know what to say? They don't know if they're going to offend you. They don't know what the next thing they're going to say to you that will offend you. That's how you move. then you need to embrace all the results you're getting from that with your full chest. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I'll be right back.
Here are 3 of the worst sales funnels and why you should not be using them.
All right, let's get back into, we have another video. This topic, you can touch each other but not your phones. I feel like we've covered this in recent times, but you know, it came up again as a conversation inside of Clubhouse again. And you can touch each other but not your phones. Why do people say this? The person saying this statement is basically someone who is obsessed with the idea that we must have open access to each other's phone. Okay, this is coming from a person who is obsessively advocating that there is no reason why a married couple especially cannot have access how do you say that, complete 100% access to each other's phone. Okay, guess what anybody want to guess?
You're right.
But obviously there's more to that conversation, right? There's obviously more to that conversation, and we should talk about it. We should definitely talk about it. Tiwa says yelling is stupid. Yeah, in the name of masculinity. Oh, can you see? Voila. Yeah, there's more to it and we should talk about it. Let me see what Q said. I have been getting more propositions to be a side chick in the last 5 years. It's not a nice feeling. No, you don't want to take that to heart too much, okay? That's just, yeah, don't take that to heart too much. It probably has something to do with the people you're surrounded with the most. But when it happens, you have to get into a space where your confidence says, no, I'm not interested, and don't take it personally, right? And keep working on yourself. But listen, yeah, I can understand why that can feel weird, you know. Okay, but when you're older, you know, they expect older and stuff like that. So you attract older men, okay? So, but again, you know how there's just a price to pay for everything, you know. So if you're a woman of a certain age, this will happen. And unfortunately, you can't control how other people act. The only thing you can control is what you influence, right? Your surroundings and stuff like that. So if there's anything you can change, there's some things you can't change, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just make sure you're safe and don't be around crazy people or goofballs like that, okay? But stay focused on what you're looking for and stay focused on taking care of yourself. It's a numbers game, but also it's a number of quality game, right? So quantity, quality is a good balance between the two that you're looking for, and the right person will come along. So don't shut yourself off and hide inside of the house because you tend to attract old married men. Don't stress yourself over that. Try not to. I know it's hard, but it's easier said than done. I understand. But anyway, back to this conversation. You can touch each other, so people can sleep with each other, but they don't want to touch each other's phone. These are the issues. So let's see why this has more conversation to it. Let me play this gentleman right here, and then we'll get back to the conversation.
In many cases, not all, one person in the relationship insists that we both should be allowed to go through each other's phone, and the other person doesn't like the idea. They resist, and it can become a source of friction.
All right, so there's something he just mentioned. One person feels like we should have access. Usually the issue comes from another person feels like it's a bad idea, right? Let's keep going.
Typical objection to letting your lover go through your phone is, why do you have to check my phone?
Okay, why do you have to check my phone? The typical objection, why do you have to check my phone? Well, when you use the language check my phone, it's like you're looking for something, right? Now, hopefully, we're talking about, oh, no, I just want to Google something really quickly. My phone is upstairs. I don't want to go upstairs. If that's the case, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Usually, it's the other way around. Is you're checking my phone because let's see what he says.
Do you not trust me? That's
Trust. Do you not trust me? He said that's a classic line. Do you not? Why do you want to check my phone? If you don't have a straightforward answer, like, no, my phone is upstairs. I just want to check something real quickly. It's like, why are you? What are you hiding? I think that's the next line here. Let's just watch it.
a classic line. And the classic answer to that is, are you hiding something?
Are you hiding something? Now, a person that says, are you hiding something, after they told me, let me check your phone, they're confirming my suspicion, which is they don't trust me, right? They're confirming it. Yeah, listen, common sense. It makes sense. Do you not trust me, right? Right? Do you not trust me? Let's go back a little bit. These are the lines that I want you to pay attention. This is how it plays out in real life, right? That no one ever talks about. They only want to talk about, well, there's nothing wrong with it. Well, you're right, there's nothing wrong with it. But why do you need to go to the phone? Right? Can we talk about the why part? Well, because you trust me anyway. No, there is a motive. There's an underlying reason why this has become a point of contention, right?
A source of friction. The typical objection to letting your lover go through your phone is, why do you have to check my phone? Do you not trust me? That's a classic line. And the classic answer to that is, are you hiding something? If not, why not let me see?
Let you see what? What's the purpose? Why not let me see it? Are you hiding? Like, not let me see it. Now, if the conversation goes around like, why can't I use your phone? I just want to check something really quickly online. If that's the conversation, that's different, right? Not, why can't I see your phone? Are you hiding something? Why can't you just let me see it? It can't end there, because I need to know the rest. We in this conversation need to know the rest of the reason why you're obsessed with having access to your partner's phone. Now, it is also a true concern that why should that be an issue? We're married. It's also a valid concern too. Let's be honest, right? But because the human spirit has a credible radar for bullshit, it can tell that there's a trust issue here and it pushes against it, right? So effectively, there's a crisis now. And if it's not handled carefully, it will not end well. There's no amount of common sense you bring into this, as in like, there's no big deal, that will make this issue, that will make the underlying issue. What are the underlying issues? Let's keep going.
You can check my phone. So what's the decision? Is it okay to go through each other's phones? I think yes. The emotions of jealousy and insecurity.
The emotions of jealousy and insecurity. So think about it right now. Emotions of jealousy and insecurity, he said, are inevitable.
And highly entangled with romantic love.
Highly entangled with romantic love. So he's not capping. He's not telling you that, oh, you should not be, how people say you should not be jealous. What do you mean you should not? What do you mean?
Stop the cap.
People will be jealous. It's inevitable. Insecurity. No, don't call me insecurity. What do you mean?
Stop the cap.
Insecurity is real. It will happen, right? So when people sometimes will say, hey, but it's the job of your partner to make you feel safe and secure. If you're coming from a place where you don't like that burden, you will push actively against that too. Like, why can't you just make yourself happy? After all, we're supposed to make ourselves happy before we come to each other. Well, that's not.
Stop the cap.
That's not reality either. Okay? The reality is somewhere, the healthy thing is somewhere in between. It's sweet in the middle. It's the extremes that's destroying relationships right now. Okay? That's extremely trying to bring everything down to exact science and common sense talking point is what's continue to destroy relationships. Okay? No one is willing to address things from a place of empathy anymore. It's like, let me try to understand where they're coming from. No, it's supposed to be this way. And if it's not that way,
You think say they wise?
then something terribly is going wrong. Well, obviously something terribly is going wrong right now. So let's keep going.
These emotions just by themselves can cause deep unhappiness, ugly conflicts, and even breakup or divorce, even when there are no actual instances of cheating or affairs.
Even when there are no just this argument enough can he didn't say the people or the persons said these things will destroy and even turn to if it's not properly addressed. So I'm going to leave it there for a second. If we have time, we'll come back to it. But these are the issues we're dealing with in relationships today that everybody wants to cap and think is exact science. It's not. It's not. If you could, we would address it in that, but it's not. Okay? It's not exact science. It takes a lot of wisdom to handle when this things comes up. If you feel that you should have access to each other's phone, there will be no issues if the other person feels the same way. If you feel like no, like when I was having the conversation with some people, they were like, no, nobody's going to my phone, period. I'm not allowing it, right? Why? Why do you want to go to my phone? It's a guy. Like if we're going to do that, then we should both be doing it, but it doesn't even make sense. Nobody should be asking me that question, right? That's just his natural inclination, right? And he's not really in a relationship yet. So if you could say, is he hiding something? Like, well, maybe he is, right? Some people will say, well, there could be conversation with me and my sister that we're not ready to expose my partner to. You're like, well, why should you hide anything from your partner? It depends. This is the word that everyone is afraid of. Depends. It depends, right? So it depends, right? I beg, why are you hiding your phone? Bring it. Let me see. It's like, why? Like, sure, babe. Yeah, here's my phone. Will you be happy now? If you're happy, then hopefully that conversation is over. But clearly, we're on the same page. No big deal. The issue comes when the other person has been traumatized, maybe by a wife who is always snooping around and checking things. It's like, no, in this relationship, I will not allow that. Maybe you are coming from a place where you're like, he was hiding something and I wish I had checked his phone 2 years before it ended. So, see, all of this is coming from a place of trauma. Yeah, it's just bad. Usually doesn't end up well, you know. The key thing that you're looking for is that you and your partner feel safe enough to just throw your phone. My wife and I will just throw our phone anywhere in the house. It doesn't matter, right? Okay. Nobody's hiding phones. Nobody's, but there's a place where you feel safe enough, either a man or woman, especially a woman, where you're willing to do that. If that part is not there and you're trying to forcefully turn this to a rule in a relationship, it will backfire. It won't work. Regardless of which side of it you fall on, right? If one person feels like you should and the other person, if there's a division, right? If at least one person don't feel safe in going in either direction you choose, it won't work either. Okay. If anything, the best you can do with it is that they will get smarter and maybe have another phone that they hide where they put the spare tire in the car. So when they come home, they hide that phone. You never see it. They'll just get smarter. If there's a real need to hide something, they will do exactly that. So problem is when you're operating from a place of insecurity excessively, it won't work. It won't work. So it needs to be addressed. This need for healing, if it's a situation that's coming from a place of past experiences, you know. He says for some people, even if it rings in their absence, they cannot allow their spouse to pick it up and tell the person to call later. They don't feel safe or they are hiding something. It's one of the two. Either way is bad. It's like the DNA conversation. Should I ask my wife for DNA or should I not? If this thought crawls through your mind, it's already bad. Right? So asking or not asking doesn't solve any problem. There's issues already and you have to go through certain type of work to heal. Right? To heal. There's no way around it. Somebody say, oh, what if I just do it behind her? What? Do it behind her. Again, knock yourself out. Do what you got to do. What if I just go through the phone behind him or her? Do what you got to do, because clearly it's already bad. It's either you don't feel safe or they're hiding something. It's one of the two. Both of them are active problems in that relationship. So it's already bad. You're not fixing anything by going through the phone or doing anything crazy behind them. The only thing is maybe you're taking the first step towards some kind of healing or into the future. But no, just going through the phone, you're not going to feel better. That's the point we're making here. Life with Natu, you missed almost 2 hours. So how you day, my sister? How are you? Happy Sunday to you. So these are the issues. So my last word on this is this. You can touch each other, but not each other's phone is gross comparison. They're not the same thing. One is 𝐌𝐀𝐒𝐂𝐔𝐋𝐈���𝒾𝓃𝑔. The other one is purely emotions. Emotions is nobody's mate. Okay. The other one is purely they don't feel safe or they are hiding something, which is another level of they don't feel safe. They are feeling a void with bad behavior outside. Either way, it's bad. Okay. And yes, when the proper 𝐌𝐂𝐂𝐔𝐋𝐈���𝒾𝓃𝑔 catches them, they will still sleep with you. There's no need to compare those two together. They are not comparable. Yeah, don't let me use bad word. They're not comparable. Let me see. I might have let me see something here. Here are some of the questions and some other points here. Why do you want to check? Can we answer that question? No, I just want you to check. What are you hiding? Oh, that's another question. We will answer that question after you tell me why you want to check. All right, we clearly have an issue here. Let's talk about it. All right, maybe we should engage wise counsel. Let's talk to someone about it. Talk to your own personal counselor about it, right? But that question must be answered first before we answer the second question. Are you hiding something? No. Why do you want to check? Right? Answer that question first. That question could be like, you know what? He's been moving crazy. I need to know. I feel like something's wrong. There you go. Now let's start talking about it. And by the way, some of the answers could be like, yes, because of my experiences, I will feel a lot more safe if I don't feel like you're hiding something, you're hiding your phone, and like that. You can get to that part of the conversation. But let's not just pretend like checking phones will solve a problem. It won't. That's the point here. Okay, somebody says she will rest after she go to the phone and find out like no, she will not rest. He or she will not rest. Okay, somebody about human being lie. You should just check. This person that was talking was a 22, 23-year-old man. I'm like, Jesus guys, this was stressful for me because I'm like, it's a young man. I don't want to be dismissive to him, but yes, welcome to the real world. Human being lies. Guess what? Majority of your work will need to go. Majority of your emotional work need to go in being vulnerable in a healthy space, learning how to trust in order to build and nurture good personal relationships, not just romantic relationships. You still have to do those. If you can't do those, even in business, you're going to have to trust at some level. You take some risk at some level. That's how you thrive in life. You're going to have to take risk, right? So human being lies. So I should torture the other person and start going through their stuff and questioning every move or everything that sounds like it's another guy that's talking to her, or some workplace gentleman is talking to her, and now there's a bunch of questions around that and everybody's awkward in the house. That's torture. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So majority of the work will need to go back to self. Work on yourself. Make sure you're not insecure at a very high level. Yes, to an extent, your partner, there's a way you move that you start to make them feel insecure, and you need to be fully responsible for that as well. Because why would you be in that relationship if you don't feel fully responsible for that, right? No, but they should be happy by themselves. No, that's bullshit. You're taking that out of context. Women cheat more than men. That's what somebody said. So, ladies, if you want to do this, I want to be clear that men that are moving this. Remember, modern men want to talk, right? All they do is they just want to talk, right? So we talked about that earlier. So it's a competition of the feminines right now. So it is what it is, you know. There's a lot that goes into this topic, but it brings up the question of privacy, secrecy, rights, and privilege. If you see your partner, being in a relation with your partner as a privilege, meaning you're able to identify the value you're getting from being with them, and you're able to spend more time in building on top of that, making it expand, I think you will have less energy for being a detective in your own household. Being a detective in your own household, there's no way you can. I don't know how you want to paint that picture to be a good thing for me. It doesn't add up. That you're torturing yourself, literally, right? So, yeah, it's not comparable. It's not comparable. Yes, and people will sleep with each other. That will continue to be the reality, and they don't want to check each other's phone for whatever reason. If that's a point of contention, talk about it, address it, but make sure you get to the root cause of that concern. And don't stay in the surface, because you're lying to yourself, and checking those phones or putting a tracker on the car is not going to help you. It will only make things worse, even when nobody particularly is doing anything wrong, like that guy said. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Submission. Is it time to abolish this word? It looks like this word is triggering a lot of people. Ladies, talk to me. Is it time to abolish the word submission when it comes to romantic relationships? Literally, somebody suggested this new. That's what I'm asking on. They suggested it. I said I must bring this to the Prestige family. I want to know what their thoughts are about it. Ladies, is it time to abolish the word submission? What are we dealing with here? When I heard this, I was like, abolish Kebitibao. He shocked you. Who shocked me? Is it time to abolish this word? Should we abolish submission altogether, since it's triggering the modern woman really badly? They have conversation around this, and is it time to abolish the word submission?
How, Sway?
Wait. Deal us up, we're over it. Over it. Submission, of course, submission knee. Submission, just like respect, shows a gap when it is demanded for. Yeah. These are the issues. So we should. So when she said, I can't lie. When she said we need to abolish that word, I'm like, what she particularly? Is it that bad? Let's see what submission says in dictionary. Everybody wants to go to dictionary to have conversations about the word submission. Listen, the issues with these things are extremes. They're usually extreme issues, and that's why the dating scene, marriages, that's why they're struggling. Everybody wants to take something to the extreme. And here's a sign of an extreme. When people say, but the dictionary says this, that's an extreme, right? And that person will probably struggle in relationships until they come back to reality, But let me see here. Dictionary, first definition from dictionary says, the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will. In fact, let me show you properly so that we can be on the same page here. This is the first definition here. There you go. Right here. This is submission, the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior face or force or to the will or authority of another person. Okay? So we cannot do this already in real life. Unless you are, even Dangote has to do that. Did you know that? Even Alhaji Dangote has to do this. He's submitted. He has to submit. Paperwork, himself, delivery, project delivery, right? He has to do that. So that's the first definition from dictionary meaning. So dictionary is not even doing too badly itself, right? I'm just going to go through the two. There are probably other definitions too. Of course, some people, they would like to go to the extremely toxic Definition, right? They might say things like slavery. They want to bring slavery into that conversation, right? The second definition says the action of presenting a proposal, application, or other document for consideration or judgment. Okay, so clearly we're not talking about that one, right? Let me see if there are other ones here. And I struggle. I see one here that says servile flattery and submission. Okay. An act of surrendering to a hold by one's opponent. Okay, that's submission. Another one says, okay, a proposition or argument presented by a lawyer or a judge or jury. Well, even for example, right now I'm about to make a submission in this video right now, right? So, but there are people that tend to pull out, they go in the direction of pulling out the extremely toxic version of this thing, right? So now they're saying it needs to be abolished, right? It needs to be abolished, right? And to be honest, there have been words that have been abolished, or people say you can't use. Like, for example, me, when people say they want to control their wives, I say, well, that's not going to work anyway. In addition, why are you using that word? Are you in 1953? Control your wife. Anyway, but you know, there are people out there like that. They think their power is pushing against political correctness, like politics is their mate. But anyway, another conversation. Submission, just like respect. Okay, we talked about that already. That's a good point, actually. I agree 100% with that. If it has to be demanded for, maybe these are part of the issues, right? Life will not say I hate stress. I'm married at 34, but never dated two men at the same time because I don't like explaining a bit. Wala. Submission is an action and should not be demanded. That's what we're talking about. He said, I had an extreme friend who would invite her boyfriend for dinner and make him wash dishes because she cooked. She was always balancing accounts for everything. Yeah. You see, now that person, if we have to educate that person on submission now, are you sure we should be abolishing the word? Right? Are you sure? Some people need the lesson on submission in a balanced way that actually makes sense, the actual meaning of submission within a marriage that's built on romance, right? So it's a struggle. You know, there are a couple of points here that I made about this, about 12 points that I want to leave you with. But before I leave you with that, let me show you this example really quickly. This is an example of people that are teaching people wrongly about submission. Okay, here's an example right here. Let me see. Boom, there you go. Let's make it bigger. Okay, I'm gonna play this video for you, then we'll take it from there.
Reassigned. And what's your user number, ma'am? It's 67.
Let me refresh that.
I'm calling because I need to get my dentist reassigned.
And what's your user number, ma'am?
It's 676 8. I'm sorry, hold on.
Oh my God.
Babe, she asked for the user ID.
Ma'am?
I know you always say that, but every time I talk to them, they tell me to give them the user ID, which they told me the same as the social.
Hello?
I'm sorry, can you hold on 1 second? Is it that big a deal?
Go for it. You don't listen.
I am listening. I'm listening to what she said.
And what's your user number, ma'am?
It's 667 8. If she asked for the user ID. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I actually meant it's SLM6FF. Thank you.
Okay, I found you.
That worked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so this was a terrible example. Okay, this was a terrible example of what it looks like in real life in relationships. Okay, the first part of that video, she did show an attitude. Okay, let me see. Let me go back to it because I think it's very important that, like you said, more elaborated, right? Let's talk about what this looked like in real life. A lot of people, they just everything is a textbook to them. And this example, you might as well just read a bunch of nonsense in the book, right? All right. Let me play it again, and then we'll take it from
I'm
there.
calling because I need to get my dentist reassigned.
And what's your user number, ma'am?
It's 6768.
It said, that's my social, right? And she's making a call. I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes over there, but he said, no, that's my social. Okay. That's typical conversation between a husband and a wife. That's not far-fetched. Okay.
I'm sorry, hold on. Oh,
He said, you got to give her the other number. Fine.
my God. Babe, she asked for the user ID.
Ma'am?
It said, but she asked for the user ID.
I know you always say that, but
Okay, so at this point, she has an attitude in her face. And said, yeah, but you always say that, right? And he's trying to make a point, right? Yeah, it's fine. You can be, I can see some frustration in his eyes, but he's also trying to walk on eggshell a little bit, but he's trying to say something. Gentlemen, if you're walking on eggshell around your wife, you have to hold yourself accountable and responsible for that. Yes, even if she made you do it, okay? Yes, that's why you are the man, okay? It's not you are. I didn't say you are at fault. I'm saying you owe it to yourself to maintain your cool, okay? You owe it to yourself to remain centered because your family is counting on you to do that. If that's too much, I don't know what you want me to tell you, okay? But anyway, let's keep going.
every time I talk to them, they tell me to give them the user ID, which they've told me is the same as the social.
Hello?
I'm sorry.
So she made a point. So every time they said it's a social that, she said, okay, all right. So that is the same thing, right? So yeah, you could call the place of work, for example, healthcare systems. Usually they might be able to pull your information with your social security number or a user ID, either way, right? A lot of systems, they will pull your information with both in the same field. That's why she's probably pulling that number. She's not exactly doing anything wrong. She's doing the way she felt she could do it at that time. Unless we're talking about security in terms of giving your social security number. But she has an attitude. She also thinks she knows what she's doing at that point in time, right? When I see attitude like this, what it tells me is that there are behind the scenes, there are backstories to what we're looking at. Making an example out of this without giving us a little bit more context is stupid, because that's not real life, okay?
Sorry, can you hold on 1 second?
Particularly calling it combative, that part, labeling it combative is stupid, okay? No one is going to learn anything from this. People that lack experience may think they're learning something until they find themselves in a space where they naturally have attitude. Could I be that guy behind the scenes right there? Yes, I've been that guy too. Sometimes it still happens. You're frustrated sometimes. You're a human being. The problem is when you're not aware and you continue to teach something stupid like this. Okay? So why is this combative? If you say, hey, you want to watch out for this right here, you would rather do it the other way because communication, because I like word of affirmation is my love language too, number one. So I appreciate when somebody talk nice to me, right? But to assume that 100% of the time is always going to look like that and then we should label the other ones combative, this is how you miss out on the actual ingredients or the actual things that people are supposed to learn in relationships, the actual nuances, right, that actually shows up in real life and not robotic stuff like this.
Is it that big a deal?
He said go for it, but he didn't mean it.
I'm listening to what she said. I'm sorry.
And what's your user number, ma'am?
It's 6.
So he said you don't listen. He said go for it, but you don't listen. So he didn't say what he meant. He's caught up in his emotions. It happens to the best of us. It's okay. The issue I have here is the person teaching this lesson who is creating this skit and calling one combative and calling it submissive. This person is lame. It's neither one or the other. One will create a better outcome, yes. The other one, you should avoid it as much as you can. Okay? So these are the issues with the word submissive or submission. When people use it wrongly, then we have a lot of young lady coming out and say, let's abolish the word. I don't think we need to abolish the word. We need to abolish people that don't need to be teaching or need to stop teaching. Okay? Because both sides, like for example, now she decided to use what he said, right? But it could have been wrong too. And then also the attitude was not addressed. And also the fact that when you listen to your husband, but actually you didn't listen, it was just you buried it under the rug for today, but there's resentment. That was never addressed too. The nuances were not addressed.
6, 7, 8. If she asked for the user ID.
So she said, babe, she asked for the user ID. Okay, the presence of babe in the sentence makes it submissive. No, that's lame, that's dumb. If my wife says babe and she calls me babe, that's fine. I like it. It's sweet, it's nice, it's cute. That's not the same thing as submissive. That's to call that submissive is stupid at best. I'm sorry I'm using that word a lot, but maybe I'm a little frustrated too.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Oh, so she's my I'm sorry. Is that how it works in real life? If you have been actually frustrated before, if there was a backstory, could you switch that like that? Is that realistic?
Sorry, I actually meant it's SLM.
So she listened. And then there's a lame 22-year-old said, like, you're right. That's how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not real. Real. It is not real. Right? It's not real. If we're going to have these conversations, we need to have it at a real life level. Okay? Submission is more of a grand situation overall. We can look at overall that marriage, that wife is submissive to the wife, but what that looks like in reality is that she trusts his mission. She trusts that she can count on him. She trusts that he's consistent. Even when he's at the weakest mode, even when he's a little frustrated and say you don't listen, she still overall trusts her husband. She would defend him like that if somebody says some type of nonsense about him, right? That's what submission looks like. It's not a moment by moment, a moment of you don't listen. No, it's not. It's not real. Now, if you do enough of you don't listen, you will create a non-submissive wife, gentlemen, with your own hands. Yes. And yes, ladies, if you don't understand that a lot of your husbands, their word of affirmation is their love language, if you've never done the study to that point, you might end up creating a dent in him where he will start becoming feminine, and then you will start to say he's not responsible. He doesn't know how to make you feel good, right? I just haven't felt good for so long. Anybody remember Jada right now? Right? So it's more to it. It's more to it. And in order to be able to discuss submission, we need real life examples. Like, for example, that was a skit, but it's a good example. There's nothing that whatever we just saw that they compared has nothing to do with submission whatsoever. Unless it's a repetitive thing and she tends to have attitude and she never listened. She's clearly not submissive. But again, submission is not something you decide. Right? It's when you see value in submitting to an order. If you see value in submitting to a structure, an authority, you will submit naturally. It's not stuff that you just let me sit around since it's duty and responsibility. It used to be that way until there's perception of options, right? Illusion of options, meaning people need a little bit more substance than duty and responsibility to be able to submit, because if you're not showing up consistently, eventually they will lose respect. Okay? Now, is it helpful for a woman to be aware that she should be submissive? Yes, I think it's helpful to understand that marriage is built on that type of structure. But I think it's even much more helpful when there's something to submit to, when there's a mission to submit to. When she couldn't help it, she just finds herself submitting. It's just what it is. It's just the reality, right? She's actually being called pick-me's right now by people that don't understand how that works. And she's like, what? What's a pick-me? I don't know what that is. I'm pick-me because I love my husband. She's saying things like that, right? That's what it looks like in reality. You don't ask for it. It just happens when you're moving the way you're supposed to move as a man, okay? Now, in terms of submission itself, number one, every human being has to do it. Not just women. Every human being, including Alhaji Dangote, has to submit. So we can't really abolish it. In reality, the way it shows up, everybody, you have a boss, everybody has a boss, you have an authority, everybody that has to submit or deliver some kind of goods, services, value to other people is essentially submitting. That's what that is. So I don't know about the abolishing it part. I understand people abuse it. I get it. I get the frustration. But I'm not sure if that's enough to abolish the word, you know. Number two, it's earned 100% of the time. You have to earn it. If you want submission from other people, you have to earn it. If you're asking for it, clearly you haven't earned it, and you're feeling even further by asking for it. It gets worse. It just gets worse. Okay. A product of a man's submission to his higher self and leading by example. If you're a man and you're submitted to your higher self and you're leading by example, women don't have a choice than to submit to you. They just want to submit. They want to. All right, you don't need to ask for it. Okay. Then number 4, it's useless when there is active division in ideology and especially at emotional levels. If both of you and I agree and you are forced you to submit, it will fall on its face. It's not sustainable. Period. Okay. So this submission is a symptom. There are other underlying things going on that needs to be addressed if this is a point of contention in a relationship. Okay. Number 5, it's not designed for women to explicitly decide for or against. When she feels safe and secure, it's a natural order. Number 6, if you have to ask for submission, you will repel it further away. It simply means you haven't earned it. Okay, you have not earned it. That's why you're asking for it. So you're trying to force it. Good work. Number 7, if a man is so sure of his competence, he needs to have self-respect and leave when he encounters whatever he considers a non-submissive woman. If he's so sure, okay? Being loud about it on the internet is giving. It's giving, okay? Number 8, ladies, have a conversation with your father or your father figure about submission. If this conversation matters this much, if you're engaged with conversation about submission, if you feel like you just have a conversation with your father figure about it, I don't think you can afford to count on the men in the market to lead, because these days more and more men are asking women to help make them feel like men. Actually, on that conversation on Clubhouse, a guy actually said, these days women don't know how to make us feel like men. I'm like, are you? Yeah, this is, I was on Clubhouse and I was like, where's my effect button? Yeah, it's not women's responsibility to make you feel like men. No, sorry. Okay. So ladies, have a conversation with a father or fatherly figure. It could be a brother too. Somebody that you feel like is a solid classic man who understand how this stuff works. They can help you understand it better in terms of how men interpret it, and not in slavery. And gentlemen, if a woman is having conversation about submission and she's bringing slavery into it, you deserve all the disrespect you get from engaging that type of woman. Okay? You deserve it. Number 9, we need to bring attraction and seduction back into that conversation. Okay? People submit when there's value in it. Okay? They don't argue with it. Okay? Number 10, religion is going to continue to play less and less role in understanding relationships. We need to step the conversation up. So a lot of time people use religion to try to press submission in, and it just gets worse, because then people start to say, but that same Bible, there's people that say submit to you. Some girl actually said that. People say submit to your white. I'm like, Jesus, it's so extreme. Like, now you as a gentleman, why would you engage such a lady in that kind of conversation? What are you trying to get out of that? To win a point, a candy? It's stupid. Right? Number 11, there are studies that show that fertility dies with time for everyone. People are saying, oh, women need to submit because fertility. Bullshit. Everybody is getting old. Okay. Number 12, hypergamy is real, but in this time and age, it's more so desires than it is reality. Okay. But it's still very much kicking. But somebody brought in hypergamy. It's emotional only. Everything else, financial, tangible stuff you can touch, is useless. So an average woman is not going to end up with Hush Puppy or Pastor Toby or Puff Daddy, Alaji Chief Dangote. So it's, when you're talking about hypergamy at financial level, it's a useless conversation at best for most people. Okay. So that's that. How is that? So submission abolished? Nah. No, I think instead, if you are feeling like you're engaged in conversations too much about this, where it's making you feel drained and all that, change your circle. You can abolish that circle if it's making you feel that bad. But submission is not ultimately a bad thing, because we all have to do it, including men. All of us have to do it. I get it. They use it to try to manipulate women into becoming subordinates and all this. If you're ladies, maybe you stop engaging in conversation with this type of men. There are still some solid classic men out here, but it depends on what kind of conversations you're engaging as well. All right. All right, I've got about, I don't know, maybe two more topics, short ones to cover, and I'll be right back.
With Squarespace, you can make a website to sell.
All right, let's see. I have a video here that I want us to react to. Welcome back. Can married people give dating advice? This is kind of similar to the other topic we covered about. It's similar but different too. Well, we covered about has the marriage or dating game changed, right? Has it changed? This is very, very similar. But let's play this video. Where is this topic on? Can married people give dating advice? So here's one of the pushback I get that I've gotten a few times. You know, I don't get it a lot, but a few times I've gotten it like, hey, Ola, you're out of the game. How can you advise someone? When was the last time you dated the person? Somebody will say, well, Ola, when was the last time you were juggling two women at the same time? Like, oh, lame. lame. I could tell that person has been listening, overdosing on, what's his name? Rational Male, Rollo Tomasky's rhetorics. Right? Juggling. Spinning plates. When was the last time you were spinning multiple plates of women together at the same time? So how could you advise us in 2022, 23, 24 on, like, okay, all right, you're not lame. Mabino. You're not lame. But you lack game, obviously. Everything has to be overly simplified for you to understand. For you, it's a straight line, it's exact science. Since you have been out of the game for 15 years, the game has changed. The human beings have changed too. Well, back to that topic earlier. The landscape has changed. Okay, and you are right to a large extent that I have to pay attention to the fact that the landscape have changed, but human beings have not changed. They can't evolve, maybe evolve with the times, respond a certain way to the changed landscape. Yes, that will be different too. Stories are being told slightly differently, but catfish is not new. People lying to each other or saying they're one thing but they're something else, that's not new. People cheating, lying, and stealing is not new, right? That's not new, right? So can married people give dating advice? Can they a person that has been married for 25 years, can they advise you on dating, right? Let's see what these young ladies on the screen have to say, and then we'll take it from there. Let's see.
Someone wrote to the Washington Post advice columnist and they asked if a married person can offer advice to their single friends. Okay, well,
I'm about to make some enemies in this room.
Andrea.
Because I am the resident. Cassie, you're single too, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. That was a long yes, but okay. We'll discuss later in the commercial break. As a single person, I have been given relationship advice from unsolicited people, bus drivers, aunties, at weddings, in workplaces, during meetings, and I'll tell you.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, there's no better way for her to tell us that she's single and she's a woman of a certain age, right? Because she mentioned aunties and she's talking about unsolicited advice. And I agree with her. There's a lot of people that give unsolicited advice. I agree with her that no one should be giving unsolicited advice unless they are creating content like myself, right? I don't do unsolicited advice personally. This is what some people, especially men, will say, Ola never takes sides like that. What do you mean take sides? What's your question? You don't even know how to ask questions. You ask me to take sides. What's your question? You don't ask questions for the same arrogant reasons. You figured it out, but yet you want to know what side, or like, why do you want to know what side I stand on? The side I stand on is I've been married for 15 years and I'm happy. But let's look at what this young lady is going to say further, because she said people are giving unsolicited advice, right? I agree with that part, right? But let's continue, shall we?
Something my experience has been, the people who have the most miserable relationships are always the ones with the most advice. And I don't know if
She said people with the most miserable relationships have the most advice. Okay. I feel like I could see that. I've seen that. I've been in a position where I feel that way too. But there's a lot of assumptions coming from her. Yeah. And obviously she's generalizing too, right? Now, if some of my counterparts, contemporaries that are married, happily married, if they shy away from, I've seen friends who say, hey, come on the show, let's share some knowledge and wisdom with people. And yeah, that's not my thing. Now it makes sense to me why they don't feel like doing that. Right? They don't want to come and be abused by some young girl somewhere who is calling them miserable because they're giving advice. You see the confusion. It's part of the confusion, right? Again, slightly, I kind of agree with her because, I've been in a position where I've seen that. Like, people that tell, like, don't advise people, don't try to save people if you haven't healed properly, right? You've heard me say that here before. But again, where are they? We're talking about, can married people give advice to single people? Why are we talking about unsolicited advice? Obviously, we should assume we're not talking about unsolicited advice. We're talking about, actually, the question maybe should be more like, can single people get solid quality advice from married people? Is it possible? Should we not be switching the question, right? Is there any kind of value you could get from a married person if you're dating in the dating scene? Is it possible they could give you an advice at all if they've never been on Tinder before? Because in their era, they were not on Bumblebee and Tinder, right? But safely, right now already, in 42 seconds into this video, I can safely say, it's probably a bad advice to give advice, period, not unsolicited advice, period, because people are defensive on every angle. They like, why do you want to give me advice? I'm okay, I'm fine. Not everybody wants to be married. Like, wait, we're not talking about any of that. It's a simple question. Can you get some kind of value from taking advice from people that are married? Is it safer to assume that we're talking about happily married people here? Or you know what? Well, if they're not happily married, most of these people are not in happy marriages anyway. You're right, by the way. But there's more to that story. There's a reason why you're gravitating more in that direction. Because you can you can as well also assume that we're talking about happily married people. Like, assume the best case scenario, not the worst case scenario. Oh my God, if you look at the face of this young lady that's talking right now, she couldn't wait. Let's keep going. She couldn't wait to make this point, right? Let's keep going.
if it's a misery loves company type of situation, but I just feel like, why don't you just let me be me and let me do me and figure
Misery
it out on my
love
own,
company.
You figured it out on your own. And the advice is going to be, there's no one piece of advice for everybody because everybody's relationship.
Why do they always say this? There's no one piece of advice for anyone. But yet, by the way, that same statement is still true even in business. You're right. There's no one piece of advice. Nonetheless, we do get advice in real life from people that we feel might be able to help us or give us some kind of insights, right? There's no one piece of advice. She's coming to the nicer side a little bit. She already called them misery love company. She basically said married people trying to advise single people are misery love company, but oh yeah, there's no one piece of so let me just do me. By the way, one of the things that's destroying the experience for every single for a lot of people right now is this idea that let's just do us. Let's just do me. Everything else that you do in life, you don't just do let me do me. You look for guide, you look for mentorship, you take a class. But when it comes to our personal relationships, let me do me. Can I just, everybody should do this. Let me just do me. Let me do my truth. And then they're complaining in the same breath that it's not working out, right? The dating scene is terrible. It's a horse shit right now. Right? And I'm like, you know what? For years, I'm like, I'm not advising nobody. But later I was like, you know what? I enjoy, let's talk man of prestige. Right?
Relationship starts differently. Everybody's relationship has a little bit more intricacy. And I understand it's coming from a place of love. You want to see me walk down the aisle and you think that's going to make me happy and all that jazz, that's a whole other discussion. But I really feel like we're in a time, and I even wrote a book about it. They're in a time where we should just let people live their lives and do what they want to do. And
she wrote a book about let people live their lives, let people do what they want to do. Right? First of all, if I will swear for you, if I see you ever stop anybody from living their lives, okay? People should live their lives, right? But here's my thing. Don't come back and complain to me about your experience either, right? If you're living your life, you're doing you, and be happy with the results you're creating, because that's what that means. That means you should also be able to hold yourself accountable. Say, this is the life I wanted to live. I love the experience I'm getting right now. And keep in mind, when you're living your life and you're doing you and you're doing whatever you want to do anyhow, keep in mind that you're creating a certain type of society, the next generation. Yeah, because you can't help that. You will do career and have children anyway. So you're creating there's creating something. Also own that one with your full chest. Let's remember that part when you're telling people to do them. Okay. Ultimately, I think the nuances are missing. Context is missing in this conversation, right? What do you mean by people should just do them anyhow? Kilo mean, right? What do you mean?
Not badger, especially if this person didn't ask you. If I ask you for marriage advice,
That's the thing.
then by all means. If I just got married and I'm like, how do I do this? Please, by all means. But if you see me enjoying myself looking good in my cobalt blue pants, please keep it moving.
I agree. I'm just wondering why she was quick. That was the question. Why was she quick to go in that direction, right? The last part should have been the easy answer. Like, yeah, if I ask you for marriage advice, yeah, of course, I think they can. And by the way, the question did not say marriage advice. It just says advising single people, right? That's what it says.
Miss me with that.
Cassie, you have a beautiful mauve sweater on.
Oh, please. I mean, I don't know that I have this level of confidence that Andrea brought to this. I just think what's wrong with this scenario is that people who are married love to lie about how happy they are. And this is mostly an issue of like, if nobody wants advice from happy people, especially
She said they like to lie about, what did she say? Tell me everything about you without telling me.
how happy they are. Level of confidence that Andrea brought to this. I just think what's wrong with this scenario is that people who are married love to lie about how happy they are.
They love to lie. See, listen, when I was researching this video this afternoon, so my wife was next to me when I played the videos, and both of us made it like, what? Did people lie about how happy they are? Ladies and gentlemen, have you encountered these people that lie? Or is it a situation where you thought they were in a different space, but then 2 years later you found out they're divorced, so you assumed they were lying about 2 years ago? Is that what it was? Or you're not sure, it just sounded sweeter and better to say they're lying about their relationship?
They are. And this is mostly
They are
an
lying.
issue of like, if nobody wants advice from happy people, especially if
That part is true. Nobody wants advice from. I've experienced this part myself. It's not entertaining. It's not bass enough. Nobody wants advice from happy people. It's just boring, right? Can you tell us how destructive your ex has been in your life, so we can be happy, and then ping other people to come and hear the story. Ping other people into the room. Share, like. By the way, please help me like and share this video. Right? Right? She's right about that. She's at least admitting that she's toxic. Nobody wants to hear advice from happy people. Jesus Christ.
an issue of like, if nobody wants advice from happy people, especially if you're putting it on and I can see right through you. If I'm unhappy,
Oh, she said, especially if you're lying, I can see right through you. Okay.
the way to cheer me up is to tell me how bad your husband is. like loading the dishwasher. That would make my day. I would be like, you're right. I don't have to deal with that at all. I have some random man.
She said, tell me how bad your husband is if you want to cheer me up. This is real. This part is real.
Messing up my house. It's great.
Yeah.
That's a true friend. That's a true
Yeah. If you want to be a good friend,
Tell me how bad your life is.
Lainey, what
Wow.
do you get asked for a lot of advice from single friends?
I don't think I do get asked for a lot of advice. I mean, I get asked for, friends disclose things to each other. We vent. So of course, I've been a receptor of venting, and I vent as well. But I generally, I don't really give advice, because how would I? First of all, I have been cheated on, and I am a cheater. I have been a.
Oh, come on. Don't admit that to the public. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. Yeah, it's problematic. Listen, let me give my opinion on this question, actually. Rebecca says, when you ask some men what do you like in a woman, they loudly say submission number one. Yeah, that should be a natural. But anyway, this feels like when newlyweds are advised to abandon their single friends after wedding. Why the enmity between singles and married? If the person has common sense, advice is welcome. Yeah, I generally don't like unsolicited advice too. I think it's lack of wisdom to be giving unsolicited advice, especially if you understand how human beings work. The younger people get, the more arrogant, the more disrespectful they can get if you give them unsolicited advice, actually. So I don't give unsolicited advice. I just let them do them. Or if they are wise enough to ask questions, I will also apply wisdom when I'm answering it. And usually my answer will have questions, because again, the landscape does change. I want to know what kind of landscape they're dealing with. And a lot of older people, it's true, they're not patient enough to ask what the landscape they're trying to answer the question is, right? They just assume they know more than the young people. So I can see where the frustration is coming from, but I think it's the consequences is worse when you're arrogant and you don't have any respect for advice or wise counsel from elders. I think the consequences are greater than the consequences for an older person who is not wise enough to ask about your landscape, right? But the truth is that there are certain types of people that can advise on your dating scene, especially if they're asking questions. Like if you come to me, you say, hey, I spent $200 per plate every date. I don't know what to do. These women are for the street. I'm like, what do you mean they're for the street? Why are you spending $200 per plate? Well, it's your responsibility to manage your resources, right? So tell me more. Oh, but it's the way the dating apps work. They want you to take them. I was like, no, stop taking people out random that you don't know willingly. Get to know people, FaceTime. Get to know people, get them off the dating app into Instagram, get them off the dating app into FaceTime, so you guys can talk and chat and get comfortable. Let them feel comfortable before you start. Feel some kind of energy before you take them out on a date. And why do you have to spend $200 per plate if it's that much of a point of trouble for you, right? That goes back to you. You're not you don't know how to manage your resources, and it's almost like you deserve the experience you're getting, right? But I need to understand a little bit, not all the way, about your landscape. And there's a good chance that I have enough life experiences to be able to give you some insights. Advice are just advice. They're not gospel truth. They're just advice. It's not stuff that you have to, but they can help you. You can rub minds together with another person, and you might come up with a better idea of what's going on, right? But I see where the frustrations are coming from. Maybe she's talking about the pressure on. Yeah, she's talking about the pressure on single people to get married, and that wasn't the question that was being asked. So, yeah, it's crazy. Because sometimes it could be annoying when seeing single enjoying their life. Yeah, it's terrible. I think a lot of people don't have the emotional intelligence to not do that. But again, the consequences of turning that to a reason to not value advice from anywhere. It could be a weary somebody on the street. I think the consequences of that is greater, And in terms of the actual question itself, can married people give dating advice? The answer is yes. Okay. Can married people give unsolicited advice? No one should be giving unsolicited advice. Anybody that's giving unsolicited advice is probably going to give terrible advice anyway. They don't know anything about you. So they're going to give us terrible advice anyway. And yes, that could be anybody. It could be married people. It could be, it has nothing to do with happily married. Divorced people can give great advice. Okay? Unhappily married people can give great advice too. Again, but anyone giving unsolicited advice is probably going to give a terrible advice, particularly because it's unsolicited. Nobody asked them, you know. So it's weird. It's a weird combination there, multiple layers of things we addressed there. But for you in particular, that you're very quick to say the dating game has changed. You can't advise me what I create content around it. So clearly I'm doing a lot of studies around this, obviously in addition to my experience. So absolutely I know what is going on much more than you, because I'm studying this mixed together with studying it with experience, and you're the one complaining that it's not working. So there's a good chance that I know better than you in what works today in this dating scene. And all I have to do is shut up for 2 minutes and you will tell me everything that you find wrong with it anyway. And then I probably can give you some insights. Okay? Not rules, not anything that's just rules set that you should just do, it works all the time. No, some insights, you know, some enlightenment. Maybe you should move this way. Maybe you shouldn't be spending $200 per plate if you don't know this person yet, right? So anyway, we got one more to go, and I'll be right back.
Learn Spanish with Real Spanish TV. Click on words in the
All right, welcome back. Let's talk about this video. I have one last video for you that I want us to go through together. This question says, can modern men lead in marriage? Before we get into this video, what do you think? Can modern men lead in marriage? All right, a sector, a very small sector, might I add, or I might add, I should say, a very small sector of modern men are saying they're walking away from marriage anyway. You know, 𝐌𝐀𝐒𝐂𝐔, men going their own way, right? They said they don't want to be a part of marriage anymore. They don't have time for the modern women, especially in the Western world. Some of them are saying, I could still deal with marriage, but I'm packing my loads. I'm going to the other side of the continent, going to Brazil. They're going to Thailand, right? So, no. So that brings me this question: can modern men lead in marriage? Are they competent enough to lead in marriage? And I mean across the board. So for me as a Nigerian man, still connected very much with what's going on in Nigeria. Maybe not as much as somebody that lives in Nigeria, but very much more than an average American. It's looking very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? What's that word when the visibility has reduced when it's about to rain, right? Like there's reduced visibility. I can't see. Would you mean shoe? Would you mean Larry? You get, like, can modern men, is there a chance that they can still lead in a marriage? Because what I'm getting a lot from their complaints is they still want marriage, but the other side of brain said they're walking away. But then they're actively engaged in conversations about marriage, but then they want to walk away. They're confused. They're not sure. And a man that's not sure of himself definitely will attract the worst and the worst of romantic relationships. That's just the way it works. Okay. So I'm not sure which one is the cause or the effect at this point. Is it the fault of the woman or is it the fault of the men? Well, let's forget about fault for a second, right? But what's going on is that they're having a hard time they're having a hard time leading in marriage. We can tell by the rate of divorce out there. I can hear somebody, my spirit just told me, somebody just said, but women are the one pulling the plug 80% of the time. 90% college-educated women are pulling the plug on the marriage. Yeah, I know. I've seen that stat too, right? What does that tell us? Oh, you tell us that women just don't want to be married. Oh, they don't want to be married. Okay. Women or the woman you've encountered, or which one? Okay, all right. Well, it starts, it's data, and it's saying something. Okay, what does it say? Okay. Well, clearly, they are getting married first, and they're pulling the plug on the marriage. I am still of the opinion that no one is getting married to want to pull plug on the marriage. That's not how that works. They've encountered something, some kind of experience, not your fault, that made them say, hey, this ain't no the work. They have options or perception of options or something. Bottom line is I say, you know, before I suffer, I will just go and live my life by myself. That's a lot of that is going on. Obviously, initiated, not the downfall of the marriage, but the actual divorce filing initiated by the woman. There's a difference between the beginning of the downslope of the marriage and when the divorce was actually filed. When the divorce was actually filed, the data shows that 80% of that is initiated by women, and for college-educated women, 90%. Okay? So, the other thing that's telling me is that men, even if they're in a toxic relationship, they will stay there and call it duty and responsibility. And then they stay there until one day they will chop premium breakfast. And then I will be shocked. I'll be like, what happened? I didn't see this coming. I did everything my best. I did it. All that, right? So the divorce rate is showing us that men are struggling with leading in marriage. And then also, these people that are about to talk right now, they're saying something, and I want us to listen to it together. And then...
About 1 in 3 American adults are single. They say they're single. Though women outnumber men, apparently one expert right here says that men are actually out of their depth in the dating pool.
Wow. Okay, so Dr. Wendy Walsh says modern men...
Did you hear that? 1 in 3 American adults are single.
...are struggling to find a mate, and it is taking a toll on...
Men are struggling to find a mate.
...society at large. So thank you so much for joining us to explain.
Happy
Good
to be
morning,
here.
Dr.
Hi.
Walsh. So let's start with what you've said. Modern men are struggling to, quote, compete in the marriage marketplace.
All right, so let's unpack that really quickly. They are struggling to compete in the marriage marketplace. So what that means is that somebody is getting married, but a lot of them are struggling to be competent enough to create a marriage. That's what that sentence means. It doesn't mean they're struggling to find a wife. I don't know if that's also true in another conversation, but this is not that conversation. This conversation is that men, modern men, are struggling to compete in the marriage marketplace.
What does that mean exactly, and why do you think it's happening?
So it's important to know that this is the research of Joseph Henrich at Harvard University. And basically, as an evolutionary biologist, he's seeing that what we're seeing is an oversupply of successful women. More women are getting college educated and making more money. I teach on a college campus. We see
oversupply of educated women. That's turning out to be a bad thing? What? Education, since when has education hurt anybody?
the feminization of college campuses. The problem is women don't like to date down. So as a result, they're all chasing this small group of alphas and leaving the rest of the good guys out.
They're leaving the rest of the good guys out. Ladies, you are chasing after all of the alpha male. That's what this study is being interpreted as. Let's keep going.
Well, maybe it's, I mean, it sounds like a good thing to me. I don't know.
It says the alpha.
Says the alpha. It sounds like a good thing to me, and it says the alpha, right?
I don't know, like, to hear that, like, there's more successful women and they hold, you know, the standards are higher. That, to me, sounds like a good thing. But tell us about this quote you have, normalize monogamy.
So
about that.
Yeah,
this
isn't
is
it normalized already?
Well, actually, if you look at the history of the human species, we've had all kinds of mating systems. However, monogamy has been actually increasing in the last 100 years. It's been moving around Western and even Eastern cultures because it makes society safer. When there is one
Monogamy has been actually increasing in the last 100 years. It makes society safer. Is that what she said?
Eastern cultures because it makes society safer. When there is one woman for every man, you don't get a bunch of angry men in the lower classes.
A bunch of angry men in the lower classes. Are you listening to that? People says TJ Holmes the cheater. No, this is not TJ Holmes at all. This is somebody else. I know TJ Holmes. That's not him right there. The lady in the blue and the guy in suits were having an affair. No, this is not TJ Holmes. No, not at all. They don't look alike at all. I know TJ Holmes. TJ Holmes is a lot slimmer than this guy. Yeah, it's time to abolish the word submission when it comes to two people in a couple. Kumbe, you just got here. You didn't listen to the whole context. We will not be abolishing the word submission. What we'll be doing is learning how 𝐊𝐒𝐒 and relationships work so that you will stop creating children with people that you can't submit to in a relationship. Both people in any healthy relationship have to submit. It's called putting pride under control, because pride is nobody's mate. It will destroy everybody, including the children. But I think she's probably watching all the way from the beginning. Let's see here. So can modern men lead in marriage? Yes, they are having a hard time even competing in marriage marketplace. If a person is having a hard time competing in marriage marketplace, there's a good chance they will compete in leading in the marriage, right? They will end up in the conversation with a wife who says, since, I'm not shading you, Kumbe, since there are two people in the couple, we should abolish the word submission, right? And they won't know how to react to that. If my wife comes to me and say, hey, why do we need submission? You know, afterward, we'll talk about like, what do you mean, babe? I don't care about submission. And she will still submit. I will not be having arguments around the word submission, but that will be the reality. To create any type of healthy relationship, people will be submitting to one mission, okay? And it starts by a man submitting to his higher self, and then he attracts a woman who doesn't even know it. She's just submitting anyway.
Who become violent. In fact, when monogamy has been moving
angry
around
men.
Western and even Eastern cultures because it makes society safer. When there is one woman for every man, you don't get a bunch of angry men in the lower classes who become violent. In fact, when monogamy is not in fashion in a culture, you will find that crime rates go up, sexual assault goes up. You leave this group of marauding men in the lower ranks who are pretty frustrated.
Wait, so are you?
You see now? So anyway, I don't know what to do with this information yet, really. The truth is that modern men are struggling to be leaders. I think it's a product of soft life, easy life. They don't have to get out there and hunt for food. They can sit at home, work from a computer, make 6 figures, right? Order Uber Eats, Grubhub. Just soft life. Challenges as a man, as building a man is now being shamed, you know. Another aspect of it that you will hear a lot on the social media is that women are emasculating men. What kind of man is being emasculated? Just think about that. Modern men? Is that modern man weak or strong if you could be emasculated? That's the side of the conversation I'm concerned about, right? Same thing. I'm not saying you're wrong that they are being emasculated. I don't know what you mean by that, honestly, but I hear that a lot. But men that are being emasculated by what? The Matrix or the women? Or what exactly? Is that man, would you consider that man weak or strong? because again, I have to measure him against himself because there's nothing else. We have children, women, men, we have God. So in terms of the human beings, the man is literally responsible for himself, right? So exactly which one is it here? Being emasculated by, okay, being emasculated by whatever you want to consider. Is he being emasculated because, would you consider that weak or strong, right? What if you and I just make that completely irrelevant? But clearly, there's something about ourselves that we need to learn so that we're not so quick to say we're being emasculated, right? We will actually address a few other things. Maybe you and I will still come back to the conclusion that yes, we're being emasculated. Maybe, okay? To a large extent, at the grand macro level, I think men are being emasculated, but particularly by the women that you're dealing with on a regular day-to-day basis, it's like it's a weird conversation that I am willing to have nonetheless, right? Right? But there's something about competence here that we need to talk about, right? The cards you're dealt is the modern woman. Those are the cards you're dealt. We're talking generals, right? So generals, that's the cards you're dealt, right? Are you competent? When you end up eventually ending up in a marriage because somebody said we're equal partners and you bought into it, and then you end up and you're trying to play partner and she's now saying, he's not a man. You're acting like a child. Or she say things like, I feel like I'm not trying to be your mother. You're like, wait, you're not trying to be my mother. I thought we were equal partners. And then you're now confused. Competence. Can you blame that on women? Or we can blame that on competence. Competence is better for me, if you ask me, because then you and I can engage it and start studying what is it about ourselves that we can improve, right? That's where we are right now. Okay? That's where we are. But yeah, that's the conversation right now. My conclusion at this point in time, I'm open for the conversation. My conclusion is that the modern man is not capable. They're not competent. They can't lead. It shows in divorce rates. It's showing in their struggles in their marketplace, dating marketplace, marriage marketplace. And that's what we're dealing with today. Okay? Kathy, hi Kathy. Kathy says, I think a lot of women have dealt with a lot from men and they are refusing to accept certain things and setting up standards. So in turn, men are suffering. Yeah, I agree with that. But here's the thing, gentlemen, we can't afford to count on that to fix the issue. We're going to have to just improve ourselves, right? That's what we're going to have to do. There's no way around it, you know. There's nowhere. So what should the women be doing? They should be taking care of your children, okay? They should be taking care of themselves for you, taking care of their children, making our world beautiful. Continue to receive love from those competent men, many of them out there that can still give love and make our world beautiful, okay? If that sounds like simping to you, you deserve all the disrespect you get from all the women you encounter and all the lack of submission you're going to get, and all you deserve every single one of it. And that's fair. Since we're looking for fairness, that's fair. Okay? All right. That's all I have for you today. Hopefully I brought some value. Okay. Yeah, it's looking like, I try to keep it at 2 hours, but we'll be back here for another Sunday Prestige Live. Sundays, 5 p.m. Okay. I'll be dropping lots of videos this week. Make sure you're watching out for those videos. 2 p.m. Around 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. Look out for them. Subscribe. Okay. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. All right. I had a good time covering this topic. This was some of my favorite topics. So I had a good time, and I'm hoping that you enjoy the content as much as I enjoy reacting to those videos, delivering the content. And I am open to any disagreement, point of contention, another insight that you gained. Share them with me. I want to hear what your thoughts are about this type of things. Okay. But yeah, shout out to 𝐊𝐂𝐂𝐃, shout out to Kathy, D-Love, Shinye, everybody that stopped by to the Rebecca, Tima, and Timbasi. shout out to everybody that's been watching, people that were in and out. Just do me a favor, make sure you go grab the link to this video and share it with 10 people by email. Send it directly to them by email and let them know that we're having some type of conversation here. Okay, but hopefully you've been enlightened and educated. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Your love that I've been missing. I miss all your hugs, your touching and kissing. Make love on the floor, the couch in the kitchen. One love enough, we done enough.